Yeah, it's probably an understatement to say there's a lot of pressure on this young left-hander, but he's kind of been up to the task this year. He's been an unsung hero, sliding in right behind Chris Sale all year long. Really had a strong second half. Good curveball. I think that's going to tell a story today on how often he throws that curveball, how many swings and misses he can get. Recent history, obviously faced this same Astros team at Fenway Park 5 days ago. On the season, though, he's been the stopper. 7-0 after losses this year for the Red Sox and an ERA around 3. So I think Drew Pomeranz has more than earned this start right here. And I think he's the right guy at the right time, a lefty against these Astros.
His first postseason start, and it comes against Dallas Keuchel, the 2015 Cy Young Award winner. We've got first pitch of Game 2 of the American League Division Series. The Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, coming up on the other side of this break. The American League Division Series after the Astros took the opener 8-2. Just about set for first pitch of this one. And our Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game, AJ.
For the Red Sox, it's Drew Pomeranz throwing the curve. That means get the curveball over, get weak contact, and get his hitters back in the dugout so they can score some runs off Dallas Keuchel. And the Astros, yeah, they scored 8 runs yesterday. Jose Altuve, 3 homers, but they need Springer and Correa. AJ Hinch thinks they're close. They get them going. Could be a long day for the Red Sox.
Take a look at the lineup for these Boston Red Sox. It'll have a different look to it today with a left-handed starter on the mound. It's Bogaerts to lead it off. Then Pedroia slides up into the 2 spot. And Attendee hits third and starts in left. Mookie Betts in right field batting cleanup. Hanley Ramirez starts at first base. Chris Young was activated with Eduardo Nunez out with a knee injury. Vasquez does the catching. Marrero's at third and Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field hitting 9th. And they face off with Dallas Keuchel, who's had a bounce-back season. He was the Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago. Struggled last year. He's been pretty good this year as we look at our Geico pitcher profile.
Well, very much of a control artist, Joe. I mean, X Games, what I mean by that is he has pitches that move right to left and left to right on both sides of the plate. A little swing-back two-seamer on right-handers to kind of freeze them with 2 strikes. And very much of a perfectionist. I mean, if he misses his spots, he knows he's going to get hurt. So he's very dedicated to executing that game plan and really having good control with all his pitches.
He missed 2 months this year with the neck discomfort, had a pinched nerve in his neck, so almost all of June and July was out. And struggled in his first month back in August, but a strong finish with an earned run average below 3 in September. Crew chief for this American League crew, Ted Barrett, down at first base today, and Angel Hernandez will call balls and strikes. So we are ready to go. The Red Sox alone in first for the final 2 months of the regular season. Second consecutive division title. And the Astros, a second 100-win season in franchise history to get their first division title since '01. Off we go in Game 2 with a strike from Keuchel. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, Keuchel is part of the rotation in the 2015 trip, was very good. Winning pitcher in the wild card game, 6 shutout innings at Yankee Stadium. And gave up just 1 run over 7 innings in a Game 3 win against Kansas City. On the ground to third, this is Bregman. 1 out. And the defense around Dallas Keuchel today, Gonzalez, Springer, and Reddick in the outfield. Bregman made that first play at third. Remember the best middle infield in baseball with Correa and Altuve. Gurriel's at first and McCann does the catching. So with 1 away in a scoreless first inning, here's Dustin Pedroia. how is Dustin Pedroia feeling? John Farrell tells us good enough to be in there. He's been dealing with a knee injury much of the season.
Yeah, he really has. It kind of goes back to a slide at second base against Baltimore and Manny Machado.
Well, there's one thing you know about Pedroia. He's going to be out there. Having played with this guy and played against him for many years, you can't get this guy out of the lineup. He's banged up, beat up, and no matter how he feels, he's always ready to go. He's always ready to play. They almost, when he does get days off, John Farrell has to literally grab him by the shirt and say, hey, you're out today.
48 postseason games for him as a member of the Boston Red Sox. He's never missed one for an injury. And that's not been because he's not had any injuries. The longest tenured Red Sox continues to battle through it. To walk that line in September of trying to keep him fresh while at the same time keeping him ready by getting him as much action against live pitching as they could. That's a 4-pitch walk, and the Red Sox have their first base runner. Oh, with 1 on and 1 out, here comes Andrew Benintendi. This Red Sox offense, not what Boston fans are used to seeing over the years. They are last in the American League in home runs. They're aggressive on the bases. They put it in play, but it's a different personality lineup than they're used to.
Well, it really is. This is not your father's Red Sox offense, even in recent history. But the guy batting now, Benintendi, had a solid year, especially after a couple of off days earlier in the year when manager Farrell gave him a little bit of time to reset the button, and he's come back strong, finished on a great note, AJ, down the stretch.
Absolutely. This kid is the future of the Boston Red Sox. It's easy to say that with Bogarts and Betts, but they love this kid. They love his makeup. They love the way he swings, and he plays a great left field, especially in Fenway off the monster.
On a 1-0, he takes low and inside, and that's 6 consecutive balls from Dallas Keuchel. On a 2-0, Benintendi looks at a strike at the knees, 2-1.
Everything starts with the two-seamer with Keuchel. You throw his cutter off of that and then mix in some breaking stuff as well, but a ground ball pitcher relying on his fastball sinking.
#1 ground ball percentage in baseball this year. Got a ground out to start. Got a man at first here with 1 out, and a 2-2 count on Benintendi.
And Keuchel is unique for a left-handed pitcher against left-handed hitters. He throws a lot of sinkers in. Left-handed hitters don't see that a lot from left-handed pitchers. Most of the time you're told, hey, stay off from down and into lefties, but Keuchel loves going in there, and he pitches off it, like you said, Coney. He throws that sinker into these lefties, which induces the ground ball.
Benintendi stays alive. Time for StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. You're talking about the ground ball percentage of Keuchel, and part of the issue last year when he struggled compared to his 2015 season is that he wasn't getting ground balls at this rate.
Well, he has to. If he's going to be successful, he has pitched up more, he said recently.
There's a ground ball there. Altuve feeds Correa, who will hold on to it. Benintendi aboard on a fielder's choice. Now 2 gone in this first inning. And Mookie Betts to the plate for Boston. MVP caliber season a year ago, finished runner-up to Mike Trout, and has started to recapture some of that form here over the final month.
Mookie Betts, also a center fielder playing right field for Boston, to show you how strong their outfield defense is.
To your point, Cody, they have basically 3 center fielders playing the outfield for the Red Sox. Benintendi, Jackie Bradley, and Mookie Betts. And it shows you how good Jackie Bradley can be, the fact that he bumped Betts and Benintendi out of center field. They're natural center fielders. So the Red Sox can cover some ground out there.
Strike one. And even when Betts wasn't hitting for power, wasn't hitting for a high average over stretches of this season, he still was so good out there defensively. So good on the base pass. By a lot of measures, one of the best base runners in the game. He's still been the most valuable player on this team for much of the year. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Be interesting, AJ, if Keuchel will test Betts inside. He's normally very quick, lightning quick on inside pitches, but has had some thumb issues down the stretch, and there's been some question on whether his thumb is fully healthy.
His right thumb. He dealt with issues with the left wrist as well. Time's called. Pitch didn't count.
That was a little late for time, and usually the umpire won't give it that late, but Angel Hernandez grants Mookie Betts time, and Keuchel's a little aggravated by the fact that he still went through with the pitch, so Mookie Betts kind of saw what they were trying to do to him. This is just late. Once he starts, you can't. Most of the time the umpire will just say it's too late and you deal with it, but Angel granted him time, and Keuchel a little aggravated, as I understand. I can see why.
Under at first with 2 out. Here comes a 1-1. Betts shoots one to right. That's a base hit. It trickles down the line, and Betts is on his way to second with a 2-out double. So Mookie Betts puts him at second and third with 2 gone here in the first.
A change-up grip right there. Classic circle change, 2-seam spin. Mookie Betts right off the end of the bat, but is able to get elevation and get it to the outfield grass.
That's a knock, by the way. Not only is that a knock, that's a double. Postseason double. Right off the end of the bat, but the timeout pitch before, Keuchel threw a cutter in. So then they didn't want to go back to that. They went change up away. So maybe in Betts' mind, he's like, all right, they just went cutter in. They're not going to come back inside. I'm going to look out over the plate. And he got just enough of it to throw it over the first baseman's head.
Sets up a 2-out chance for Hanley Ramirez. Came off of the bench yesterday after Nunez was hurt. Delivered a couple of hits. And this is a different Red Sox team when Hanley Ramirez is hitting.
Well, it's interesting that he didn't get the start yesterday, but then when he did come in for the injured Eduardo Nunez, he banged out 2 hits in his first 2 at-bats. And the look on his face and the body language really told a story.
Yeah, as if to say, why wasn't I in there again?
For me, he's the most important guy in the Red Sox lineup for this series. If they're going to win this series, Hanley Ramirez has to have big hits.
Off of the hands here. Bregman's got it. And that does it for the Red Sox in the first. Keuchel able to pitch around some 2-out trouble. The Astros come up for the first time against Drew Pomeranz. When facing this Astros lineup that banged out 8 runs on 12 hits yesterday, George Springer to lead it off, and it's Bregman and Altuve off his historic performance in Game 1. Carrera, Gaddis, and Reddick in the middle. Gurriel's the first baseman. Gonzalez in left, and Brian McCann doing the catching for A.J. Hinch's club. And Tony, you talked about Drew Pomeranz right off of the top. 2 starts against Houston this year, both good, but different in the way that he attacked.
Well, yes, I think Drew Pomeranz's velocity's been a little bit down over the last couple of starts, but he claims he's throwing more 2-seam fastballs. But one thing is clear, he's throwing more curveballs. And had success his last start against this Houston Astros team 5 days ago on almost a 50-50 split.
Working on George Springer, who takes a curve low and inside, a ball and a strike. Well, Springer yesterday 0 for 4, but he's been really good out of that leadoff spot for the Astros this year. Led the team in home runs. 2 balls, 1 strike.
You know, AJ, this is a guy that A.J. Hinch told us that he liked this matchup.
Count evens at 2-2.
I think he likes this matchup because Pomeranz isn't overpowering. He doesn't pitch in that much, and Springer there's kind of a little hole into Springer with this big swing. And his curveball is not the big biting curveball. It's more of a rolling kind of curveball. So that's why I think A.J. Hinch likes this matchup, and I can understand it.
Stays at 2-2, and only one hit for George Springer against Drew Pomeranz, but as a testament to how well he sees him, he's walked 8 times in his 16 career appearances against Pomeranz.
The thing about Pomeranz's curveball, Tony, is that it's not like a strikeout curveball. It's not a swing and miss curveball. It's more of a let's get bad contact off my curveball.
Banged into the ground to Pedroia at second, and George Springer the first out. Overall this season, Drew Pomeranz throws the curveball as often as anybody, but that first time out, really heavy with the curveballs against Houston back on June 16th when he held him to a run over 6 1/3. And then vice versa this last time around. So with one out, here's Alex Bregman. You always wonder how a guy's going to be, no matter how good he is in the regular season. How is he going to be under the bright lights for the first time? And Alex Bregman, in his first career postseason swing, homers against Chris Sale.
First slider he saw too, and that was an omen for Chris Sale, whose first slider was flat and ended up leaving the ballpark and never really got a feel for that pitch all day long.
Astros scored 8 runs, scored 7 off of Sale, 6 extra base hits against the Boston A's. What was his first career postseason start?
Things always seem to go one way or the other your first postseason game. Either really bad or really good. Bregman good, Sale bad. We saw it in the other series. Severino in the wild card game.
Bregman flies one to right. Mookie Betts is out there. And for Pomeranz, 2 up, 2 down. I mean, you won 20 games in your first full season entering into your first postseason and struggled in your first outing in the playoffs.
Yes, I mean, there's no way to describe the kind of emotions that you go through, the nerves and how that plays on you. And you know, AJ, I choked. I flat out choked. My legs were heavy. I physically was impaired by nerves.
Well, I wasn't a pitcher, Tony, but my first postseason game I got 4 hits, so I can't say that I feel your pain because I don't understand it, but it's a different animal.
Altuve goes after the first pitch and deposits a base hit for left center. You might have had 4 hits in your first postseason game, but I'm pretty sure you never hit 3 home runs in a postseason game like Altuve did yesterday.
I never did that. Altuve loves the first pitch. We saw it there, first pitch curveball from Pomeranz. Most hits in baseball over the last few years on the first pitch. Altuve hits everything, and you try to get him just to make bad contact. And that's a pretty good curveball right there. He just barrels it up, throws it over Bogart's head for a single. When you're locked in, Coney, you're locked in. Jose Altuve right now is as locked in as you can get.
Uber aggressive, as you said. You almost have to roll it up there to get him not to swing.
Inning extended for Correa. And if not for the 6 weeks that Carlos Correa spent on the shelf with a thumb injury, he may be part of this discussion that right now seems to be between Judge and Altuve for American League MVP.
Well, if you think about it, there's MVPs up and down their lineup waiting to happen.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Certainly Correa. Altuve's probably going to get his this year. George Springer's got that kind of talent, you know, when he puts it all together for a full season.
Marwin Gonzalez doesn't get any love. If you ask the Astros people, they'll say he might be the MVP of their team just with the numbers and the positions he plays.
2-1. Correa, the former first overall pick, while the Astros were going through those low seasons of losing 100 games 3 consecutive years. Debuted 2 years ago. He's the rookie of the year. Put together his best season here in his 3rd year in the majors. With Altuve at first and 2 out. A 2-1. Top of the zone, strike 2.
And Correa, obviously, body language tells a story, and curveball below the zone on the previous pitch. But the high fastball, he didn't really look back. You know, Correa just, there's a way to let the umpire know without showing him up.
Comes back with a fastball, and he fights it off to stay alive.
Coney, you're right. Correa didn't say anything, but his body language told Angel Hernandez, Angel, I didn't like that call. He kind of dropped the bat and kind of just shrugged his shoulders a little bit. So there is a way to do it without showing him up, but Angel got the message that, hey, Carlos Correa didn't like that call.
Still just 23 years old. Hard to believe with everything he's done already. 23-year-old from Puerto Rico. On another 2-2. Hits it foul again. Astros were able to survive the stretch without Correa, but it was largely because of the lead that they built up. 20 and 22 with him out of the lineup, at least while he was on the disabled list with a thumb injury. 81 and 39 over the rest of the year.
And a fantastic defender, too. I mean, we know about his offense, the way he swings the bat.
Runner at first with 2 out. And the 7th pitch of the at-bat to Carlos Correa is a breaking ball fouled off.
And he kind of controls everything for the Astros infield and shortstop. Positioning-wise, they don't move him as much as some other teams do. In the shift, they want him to be in the best position because Alex Cora told us he's our best defender, so we need him in position to make not only the routine plays but the spectacular plays. So they move Correa around to put him in the position where not only to make the routine but cover as much ground as possible.
And he's really making Drew Pomeranz work for the final out of this first inning. Altuve with a 2-out single. And Pomeranz with an 8th pitch to Correa after a toss over.
Crowds love it when you throw over, don't they, Coney? When you used to throw over, they boo you all the time.
Especially when your superstar's on first base, Altuve.
Orlando Hudson, the guy I played with, would always say after a guy got a hit and then they threw over, you had your chance, you had your chance.
Fastball is hammered, and the Astros lead 2-0.
Just a rocket here by Correa. We talked about it in the keys of the game. Hey, they got to get Springer and Correa going. Drew Pomeranz lays a fastball, tries to sneak one by him in. Correa doesn't miss it. 2-0 Astros on just a bullet to left field.
Just like in game 1, they ride the long ball to a first inning lead. And now it's Evan Gattis taking strike 1. Pomeranz just couldn't put him away.
I think that's where him only basically having 2 pitches, a fastball and a curveball, it hurts Pomeranz because he doesn't have something to get it off, to get the hitter off of one of those 2 pitches, Coney.
Get another look right here. Once it in, it did not stay in. It kind of drifted just a bit, leaked back out over the plate and up. And that is the look of a hitter who knows he just found the barrel in the sweet spot. And that one ain't coming back.
I always love when the hitter hits one like that, looks at his own dugout like, yeah, you guys see what I just did? And for the Red Sox, couldn't ask for a worse. Have a couple guys on, chance to get on to Keuchel in the first inning. Pomeranz comes out, 2-run homer.
Now 1 ball and 2 strikes on Gattis. These Astros feed off of each other. Altuve talked about how yesterday he was inspired by Bregman's home run in front of him. And here he sets the table for Correa's first home run of the postseason.
There's a big difference, AJ, between, Drew Pomeranz and that pitch to Correa. A 94 four-seamer that stays true. And that, that was 91 and kind of leaked back out over the plate. And that's kind of been the book on Pomeranz more recently, that he's lost a little velocity and can't bury it inside on righties as well as he did in the first half of the season.
Well, when you lose that velocity, especially when you're going in, you better miss in off the plate. You can't allow it to leak like that ball did.
Curveball lifted to center and playable for Jackie Bradley Jr. But Carlos Correa hammers the ball out of here to get the Astros in front 2-0 after an inning in Houston. Carlos Correa's two-run home run has the Astros in front. On to the second here in Houston. Dallas Keuchel to face Young, Vasquez, and Marrero here in the second inning. For use 3 ground ball outs to get out of a first inning jam. Young goes after the first one that he sees and splits the gap in left center. First pitch that he sees in the postseason, he's got a double.
Chris Young wasn't on the roster. He's like, John Farrell, put me in the lineup, man. Let's go. One pitch in, double off the wall off Dallas Keuchel. Chris Young's trying to show John Farrell what he missed yesterday.
And he's in there because Eduardo Nunez was injured yesterday. And for more on that, we go down to JP.
Yes, Joe, the Red Sox made that change after last night's game. Eduardo Nunez likely lost for the remainder of the postseason with a re-aggravation of his knee injury. And Chris Young comes home to Houston. He is a Houston native, and actually it was just 1 month ago that Chris Young with his Red Sox teammates raised $100,000 for victims here of Hurricane Harvey.
There have been so many people through this Astros organization and across baseball that have chipped in. And not just the relief efforts here, but in Florida and in Puerto Rico, which is where Christian Vasquez is from. The Boston catcher with a man at second and nobody out takes ball 1. In a lot of ways, Vasquez over the last 2 months has been the most consistently good Red Sox hitter. This for a guy who is splitting playing time over the first few months, but has really come alive lately.
He really took over. He took over the catching duty, other than Chris Sale, who always pitches to Sandy Leon. Christian Vasquez made some adjustments in his swing. He eliminated a leg kick he had the last couple years, and he's really figured out a way to swing the bat and have good at-bats. It's not just about the hits he's having. John Farrell and Chili Davis, they just love the at-bats the kid's having. He's got the great blonde hair going right now, too. We can get him to take his helmet off for us. See his blonde locks.
On a 2-0, Vasquez takes a strike, and that is in tribute to Puerto Rico. Of course, the Puerto Rico World Baseball Classic team all dyed their hair. Doing that to support those in his home country still battling through a lot in the aftermath of the hurricane. After the leadoff double from Young, here's a 2-1 to Christian Vasquez. Young got a great jump and takes third without a throw. That is maybe the one spot where there's a clear advantage for the Red Sox in this series. That is the running game.
He got a huge jump. You see Brian McCann, he doesn't even waste his time coming up to throw. He takes off, he timed Keuchel up, He must have known he was one looking, two looking, saw it over and over again, and went well before he picked up his leg. And as a catcher, you just let him go. There's nothing you can do. You don't even waste your energy to stand up and fake a throw.
And that's a walk, putting runners at the corners with nobody out. Home runs mean more this postseason. T-Mobile's guaranteeing at least $1 million for hurricane recovery efforts with every home run hit worth $10,000. They'll break $1 million by tweeting hashtag HR4HR, and T-Mobile will donate an additional $1 per tweet. That running game for the Red Sox we're talking about, that's because they've had to with the lack of power this year. Last in the American League in home runs. And as Devin Marrero bats with men at the corners, they've had to try and generate runs.
And of course, it's going to find him in a bit of a controversial lineup change with the rookie Devers on the bench. Marrero, first and third, nobody out. Going to get tested right away here.
Doesn't it always find you? They put in a defensive replacement. The guy gets a tough play usually, or put the kid in the game to give the other kid a break. And Devers, and guess what? Your first at bat, Dallas Keuchel, first and third, no outs.
Keuchel got 3 ground ball outs in the first inning. Would love one here. Middle infield playing back. They'll concede the run. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And Coney, Keuchel just doesn't look comfortable out. There's something, I don't think it's nerves, but him and McCann are having a hard time getting on the same page. He's working ultra slow. It's like he's trying to take the air out of the ball after the double by Chris Young.
Yeah, he's more on the top of the zone than the bottom of the zone with his 2 seamers, really all of his pitches. You know, Keuchel, when he's right, even going back 2 years ago in his dominating Cy Young year, he is at the knees or below all night long. Occasional cutter into a righty just to tie him up at the belt. But changeups and sinkers at the bottom of the zone, he usually dominates. Not so far.
At the corners with nobody out. Keuchel to Marrero with a 1-2. Marrero, just a .211 hitter during the regular season, made the roster largely as insurance, and they've needed him very clearly with Nunez getting injured. You had Nunez and Pedroia both dealing with knee injuries, and the Red Sox electing to carry really 2 backup infielders in both Marrero and Brock Holt.
And Marrero in there today because both Devers and Brock Holt hit left-handed, and Keuchel pretty much owned left-handers this year, so John Farrell trying the righty out and up in a big situation.
Certainly raised some eyebrows within the Boston Scribes today, this lineup change. Devers was 20 for 50 against left-handed pitching this year, including a big home run off of Aroldis Chapman on a 103-mile-an-hour fastball.
One's way up, and it's 2-2.
But in John Farrell's defense, Devers swung at everything. There was one time I think Justin Verlander threw the rosin bag up there at him yesterday over his head, and he swung at it. So he looked like a 20-year-old kid playing in his first postseason game yesterday. So not only is it get Marrero in there with the righty, but it also gives Devers a chance to take a step back and take a deep breath.
On a 2-2. He got him swinging. And a big first out here in the second for Keuchel.
Looks like a cutter coming in on Marrero. See McCann set up underneath the right-handed hitter. Ball cuts away from his barrel. Just a tough pitch to get any good contact on after all the sinkers and all the changeups away. Keuchel, as Coney, you said, he'll cut it in on righties just to change the look, and that was a perfect example with 2 strikes on Marrero.
Yeah, the ball was unhittable, almost in the batter's box by the time Marrero went after it.
Now Jackie Bradley Jr., one of just the 2 left-handed hitters in this lineup today for Boston. And he's in there as a lefty against the left-handed Keuchel, and as a guy who has struggled offensively because his glove in center is elite. And there's always that chance that Bradley takes off. This is a very streaky hitter. 2 balls, no strikes.
He has a very good eye. That is one thing Jackie Bradley when he struggled, he still gets his walks. He can still steal you a base. He plays great center field, but he has a really good eye, and usually he doesn't swing at a lot of pitchers' pitches, so he makes the pitcher work.
Got a low strike, 2-1.
And the strikeout of Marrero was so big because Keuchel's a ground ball guy. So even if Marrero puts that ball in play and he hits into a double play, at least it's 2-1. And now if Jackie Bradley hits into a double play or hits a ground ball, they're out of the inning. So that's why that strikeout to Marrero was such a huge out.
The Young at third and Vasquez at first. A 2-1 is hit foul, and it's 2-2.
Nothing Keuchel throws is straight. Either left to right or right to left.
Outside full count.
That's a great take by Bradley. He's thrown him nothing but sinkers in the first 4 pitches. He gets to 2-2 and he throws the little breaking ball away. You saw Jackie Bradley kind of open up a little bit, but a good take on a pitch that was really a good pitch by Keuchel, trying to get him to fish off the plate away.
Keuchel's 3-2.
And if we know one thing, Coney, Dallas Keuchel's not giving in. He's still going to try to make his pitches, even though it's 3-2. For him, a walk's not the worst thing in the world because he can always get that double play. So you see that pitch right there. He went back in on Jackie Bradley, sinker in, trying to get him to jam it, roll it over to second base, and get the double play. So I'd expect him to stay in there, try to get the ground ball.
Seventh pitch to Jackie Bradley. And another foul ball as Bradley continues to work against Keuchel. Second time in as many innings the Red Sox have threatened. Left him at second and third in the first after a 2-out double from Betts. Keuchel was able to get a ground ball against Hanley Ramirez to get out of it. Here a double from Young. A walk from Vasquez. And a long AB for Jackie Bradley. Base hit into center. On the 8th pitch that he sees, Jackie Bradley puts the Red Sox on the board with an RBI single.
Just a quality at bat from Jackie Bradley Jr. right there, running the count full. And finally gets a middle pitch. Even though it's down, he's on it. As Keuchel tries to go away. Ends up in the middle at the bottom of the zone and right down the middle, right back up the middle. And the Red Sox are in business here.
That was interesting because it looked like Brian McCann set up right down the middle of the plate. It didn't look like he was trying to go in or away. That was an odd setup by McCann for after they've been pitching him in the whole at bat. He kind of just set up down the middle, hoping he'd just throw a low sinker and he'd roll it over or hit it at somebody.
So back to the top of the Boston order with first and second and 1 out. Here's Xander Bogaerts. Ball 1.
Watch Brian McCann. He gives the target down the middle. He moves a little bit in, but his target is right down the middle. And that's pretty much where Dallas Keuchel throws it. There wasn't a, hey, maybe Keuchel likes McCann to do that. I don't know. But normally you would think, hey, I want to get a sinker in. I'm going to move and give him a better visual. And Coney, I'm sure you liked as a pitcher a better visual in or away, wherever it was.
It looked like he wanted to move in and ended up just kind of squatting in place.
That's a strike 1-1. And from the Red Sox perspective, that is kind of what they do. They grind out at bats like that. Well, they haven't hit for a ton of power. They put it in play. Highest contact percentage in the game. Bradley on the 8th pitch singles into center to score Young. 2 on with 1 out. Keuchel to Bogaerts with a 1-1 and rides over the inside corner for strike 2.
No body language needed there. That was questionable.
Well, you could hear Bogey yell as soon as he called it, hey, hey! And he turned around and had some choice words for Angel Hernandez, who explained his side of the story to him.
One, two. Ball two. Still only one out. Keuchel about to throw his 25th pitch of this inning. A 2-2. Bogart's down on strikes, 2 away.
Bogarts is walking back to the dugout saying, man, he just threw that pitch up and into me, so then he's got to swing at that pitch. It looks like a strike, but it's a cutter in, but it comes out of the same arm slot as the one that was called a strike earlier. So therefore, as a hitter, you have to let it go at that pitch. You end up swinging and missing on a ball that's off the plate in because it cut in.
Yeah, high quality pitch at 89 miles an hour. Looked like a strike and just darted in.
Bogarts is in the dugout right now explaining to the hitting coach and everyone like, man, that second strike, it got me.
2 outs. Here's Pedroia, and a strike over the inside corner. Both outs in this inning have come on strikeouts on that cutter. Keuchel has utilized it more since coming off of the DL a couple of months ago. Tap foul. It's 0-2. For Dustin Pedroia with a 2-out opportunity here. #1 average of any player against the Astros lifetime.
Some pretty good names on that list. Bake McBride, one of my all-time favorites.
See if Keuchel, AJ goes here down and away. Something off the plate to set up that cutter inside again.
You don't want to throw Pedroia hot. He's a high ball hitter.
Went down and away. Perhaps 2 set it up. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
It seems like Keuchel's got better command of that cutter than he does his sinker right now. That can change inning to inning for any pitcher, any starting pitcher especially. So 2 strikeouts on the cutter in. I think it's a pretty good bet. He's going to try it again here. Off the plate in.
One, 2. Went back to it. Pedroia takes it. 2-2. Wanted it.
That's been called a strike. If we've seen anything from Angel Hernandez behind the plate, he's calling that ball in off the plate. So you can understand Keuchel's reaction to not getting this call. It's a good call. It's off the plate in. But he's gotten that call a couple times this game already, so he expects to continue to get it.
A little passive-aggressive smile there from the starting pitcher.
In another meeting with McCann, he just doesn't look right. There's something going on we don't know about with Dallas Keuchel as far as his comfort level. He's just not. It's a great smile. He's kind of like, okay, Angel, I see you. I see you, Angel.
2 on, 2 out. Red Sox getting on the board and a base hit from Bradley. Keuchel trying to limit the damage. Two. Got him swing. Keuchel winds up with 3 strikeouts in the inning, and for the second time in as many innings, the Red Sox strand 2. Play ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. Josh Reddick leads off the second against Drew Pomeranz and takes a strike. He went almost 2 weeks without playing in a game while he was dealing with back tightness, and then shows up yesterday, first game since, and gets 2 hits against Chris Sale. No big deal.
Yeah, ho-hum. Until you haven't played in 13 days, Josh, go get Chris Sale and go up there and, by the way, get two knocks off him, off sliders, too. No lefties usually have good swings off Chris Sale's slider, and he had 2 yesterday.
You know, Joe, in our pregame meeting with A.J. Hinch, the manager, he talked about the chip on Reddick's shoulder that he's always had, about the knock on him being able to face left-handed pitching. I thought it was a good analysis from A.J. Hinch to get him in that game.
Reaches out, flips this one in the left center field, where Benintendi puts it away for out number 1. And not only has he improved against left-handed pitching, Josh Reddick got to the point where he had the top average of any left-handed hitter in baseball against left-handed pitching. That's not just improving, that's becoming the best.
Well, as a left-handed hitter, we all had chips on our shoulders because people always tell you can't hit lefties. But just because you have on that chip on your shoulder doesn't mean you can still do it. But Josh Reddick's gone out and proved that, hey, you know what? I'm not a platoon guy. I can hit against these lefties.
32-year-old Yuli Gurriel out of Cuba. In his first full season in the majors, this guy can flat out hit. Pomeranz brings him a 1-0. It's inside, 2 balls, no strikes.
It's one of the things you really notice about this Houston Astro lineup is the bottom third. The last 3 hitters can all do some damage. That's what makes it so tough for pitchers, because it's a circular lineup, very deep.
Well, anytime you have a lineup with Brian McCann hitting 9th, and he's hit 3rd, 4th his whole career, over 200 homers, multi-time All-Star, that's a pretty good lineup.
That's a 4-pitch walk to Gurriel. It brings up Marwin Gonzalez, a man at first with 1 out. We check in with J.P. Morosi.
Well, Joe, this game and this series is the second most important thing happening to Marwin Gonzalez this week. His wife, Noelle, due to give birth to their 3rd child any day now. So his travel plans to Boston, Joe, could be a little different than the rest of the team, but the Astros do expect him to be there for Game 3.
And what a season he's had, guys. I mean, this is a guy who's 28 years old now. He's been an important piece for the Astros because of his versatility, but has taken off. Those 90 RBIs lead the team. It's on a roster that includes Altuve and Correa and Springer. No, it was Marwin Gonzalez that led the way in runs batted in.
And he's really made himself into that player that's dangerous, that can hit for home runs. He was always known as a defensive guy, kind of a utility player, a switch hitter, a nice player, nice piece. But now he's turned himself into a star here in Houston with the 20+ homers and 90 RBIs. Right in a new chapter in his career.
You know, especially in the era where the extra players on each roster are in the bullpen, and the bench is usually what suffers. So if you've got a guy that's as versatile as Gonzalez, that is worth his weight in gold.
47 games in left. 38 starts at short. A lot of those while Carlos Correa was injured. He started 31 games at first, 22 games at second, 19 games at third. The list goes on.
And it seems like, you know, Joe Madden kind of started that with Ben Zobrist in Tampa years ago, and it seems like every organization has a kid or a prospect in the minor leagues if they're grooming to do this exact same thing.
A.J. Hinch said there were a couple of times where Gonzalez would come into his office with 5 different gloves and say, which one do I need today? Over the course of his career, he's played every position besides catching and pitching.
Those are the hardest, Joe. That's why.
That's what I've heard, you two.
The Red Sox have a similar player in Brock Holt that'll play anywhere. He's played first, second, short, third, outfield. They've kind of groomed him into their super utility guy. Nunez is another guy that can play all over the diamond. So, like Coney said, these guys are very valuable to teams because of the bigger bullpens and because of the bullpen usage. They need guys that can play everywhere and save an extra bench spot for someone in the bullpen.
1 on 1 out. Here's a 1-2. Got him swinging with a curve, which he doesn't get a ton of. First strikeout of the game for Pomeranz. And up comes Brian McCann. The Astros have this young core. A lot of the guys that helped take them to the postseason in 2015. But then this offseason, they went out and added several veteran pieces to that core. We saw Reddick, Carlos Beltran, who would DH against right-handed pitching, and Brian McCann. Want to know. Justin Verlander, game 1 winner yesterday. Latest of those veteran pieces to come to Houston. Ball on a strike.
Is there a higher energy guy than Jose Altuve? I mean, he never stops. Talking baseball with Verlander.
They said after his 3rd home run yesterday, he immediately went to A.J. Hinch and wanted to know what the bullpen strategy was moving forward. McCann cracks his bat on a flare to short left center. Bogarts is there to finish the inning. To the bottom of the 2nd we go with the Astros in front 2-1. Okay. 3, 4, and 5 for the Red Sox here in the 3rd in a 2-1 game, and Andrew Benintendi takes a low strike from Dallas Keuchel. Who has the better beard, Dallas Keuchel or James Harden, who's in the building?
Well, that's very comparable.
Yeah. I think Harden's is a little more well manicured. Talking with Keuchel the other day, there's some parts where it gets a little out of control, kind of has a mind of its own.
Yeah, you could see what Keuchel had for lunch yesterday in his beard.
Some secrets hidden in there. Benintendi digs it out, and the air to center. George Springer for the first out. That one's clean.
I don't think that's a good look.
Oh.
No.
Better?
Yeah. It's too nice around the mouth. There you go. I like that. The non-matching.
Right.
She's taking a selfie of herself to make sure her beard looks right.
Mookie Betts, strike 1. For Dallas Keuchel, who's had a really good season and leads 2-1 in this game in the 3rd. It's not been simple so far.
No, you know, he doesn't have his great command with his sinker as of yet, but he's had good sliders, especially into righties.
Betts shoots one up the middle, and Keuchel might have gotten a piece of it to slow it up for Altuve to throw Betts out. 2 away.
Here's a good sinker, Coney. That was a good sinker that Keuchel threw Mookie Betts. And Dallas Keuchel's mad he missed that ball. Former Gold Glove winner. He's mad at himself that he let that ball get through. Lucky for him, there was a kind of a modified shift on, and Altuve was right behind him. But Keuchel's upset he missed it, and then he realized his buddy Altuve is right behind him. But that's a play you normally see Dallas Keuchel make.
Mentioned the Gold Glove. He's won 3 of those in a row. And Ramirez grounded out his first time and grounds this first pitch foul.
Hanley Ramirez has yet to see a pitch this series that he doesn't like, because he's been swinging at everything.
Couple of hits yesterday for him. He was off of the bench. Today's starting at first instead of Mitch Moreland with the left-handed start. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that was the plan coming into the season, was for it to be pretty much a strict platoon at first with Ramirez and Moreland. But the shoulder issues Ramirez has battled all season have kept that from being the case. With the bases empty and 2 out, a 1-1. Ball 2.
Sometimes the benching can be a wake-up call for certain players. And managers sometimes have to hurt some feelings, AJ, and to get guys to get motivated. And we'll see how it works with Hanley, although yesterday his first 2 at-bats looked pretty good.
I know I was surprised he wasn't in the lineup yesterday.
3-1. You think he looked at it like that, even though you've got to find a way to get Nunez's bat in the lineup with the way he'd been?
You know John Farrell had to talk to Hanley. It wasn't a surprise that Hanley wasn't in there to Hanley, because John Farrell had to have told him. As a veteran player, you expect that, and I'm sure John Farrell did that, but still, I'm sure it caught him off guard.
Count down to the Red Sox dugout, full count.
He's a guy his whole career that's played a lot, played almost every day. So for him to come in and be not in the lineup in game 1 of a playoff series, I'm sure it was a shock to his system, and he responded yesterday and is having another good at bat here today.
He's still a 1 swing at the bat and can win a game for you or change the outcome.
Absolutely.
In this case, 1 swing could tie it. Keuchel home with a 3-2. He has his first clean inning of the afternoon. Ramirez takes strike 3 call to the bottom of the 3rd in a 2-1 game. Welcome back to the ALDS on FS1, presented by Doosan. Joe Davis, David Cohn, AJ Przinsky, JP Morosi. As George Springer leads off the Houston half with a 3rd by taking strike 1 from Drew Pomeranz. Well, coming into the year, who would have thought that Drew Pomeranz would be the guy you'd put in your season on in a game 2 of a division series? This was supposed to be a super rotation for the Red Sox. That ball's driven the other way. It sends Betts back at the wall. It's gone. George Springer goes the other way with a solo shot. Well, A.J. Hinch had a hunch that George Springer was going to have a good day against Pomeranz, and he was right.
Just a great swing by George Springer here. Curveball out over the plate. Drew Pomeranz's best pitch. George Springer stays right on it and just hits a solid line drive that carries out over Mookie Betts in the right field stand.
The Astros get the run back. All off home runs today. 2-run shot Correa. Another solo shot from Springer. Bregman looks at ball 1.
Well, A.J. Hinch talks about approach, and this is 78 miles an hour, and you've got to think, stay back in order to hit that pitch the other way. So Springer's sitting on it, waits on it, drives it out the other way.
2-0 on Bregman.
And what you just said, Coney, goes back to what we were talking about before. Pomeranz is a 2-pitch guy. So you can pick one or the other, and he's not throwing hard enough at 90-91 to get it by you as a hitter. So you don't fear that. Therefore, you can stay back a little bit longer and do this damage on these curveballs out over the plate. Hit it the other way because you're not afraid of him throwing it by you inside. He doesn't have the cutter Keuchel has. He doesn't have the sinker. He's more of a 4-seam curveball guy with 2 pitches.
A great catch, by the way. One-handed by that fan. 2-1. Signing his own ball. It's 2-2. When we started to talk about Pomeranz starting this game too, and what the Red Sox thought they had coming into the season, getting Chris Sale, figured they'd match him at the top of the rotation with David Price, who has dealt with elbow problems, now obviously in the bullpen. Rick Porcello won a Cy Young last year, has not been good this year. Stephen Wright even has spent the entire year on the disabled list after he was an all-star last year. So it's Pomeranz here in October as the number 2. On a 2-2, Bregman drives the ball into the gap in left center. On his way to second. Throw from Bradley not in time, and it's a double for Alex Bregman.
Here's the home run by Springer. You see the curveball. Not really a mistake, not a bad pitch, but Pomeranz can't believe that it's a home run, and then this is a mistake. Just a fastball down the middle, four-seam barrel finder, we call it. Out over the plate, Bregman shoots it in the gap for another extra base hit for the Houston Astros in this series.
And if you're John Farrell, you've got to get some action in the bullpen right now.
We got someone up. So Coney, good call. The Red Sox have action.
You cannot allow this to get away from you. 3 runs should be the limit right here in the 3rd inning. Still nobody out.
And it's Doug Fister.
That's Smith.
That's Carson Smith. Carson Smith getting ready. I'm going to say Doug Fister.
Yeah,
That would have gone against the plans of having him start game 3.
Carson Smith better get ready in a hurry.
That would have been news if that was Doug Fister. That would have gone against everything. John Farrell said he was the one guy unavailable. So
I'm going to say it looks like Doug Fister's put on some bulk over the last day or two as well. Altuve with a man at second and nobody out. Takes ball 1.
and a huge at bat in this game. Man on second, no outs, already up 3-1. The guy who hit 3 homers, been locked in for the Astros. Red Sox have to shut this down now, like you said, Coney. Like this is it. This is the game.
Pomeranz delivers 1-0, and Altuve cracks a soft liner that'll sink in front of Benintendi for a base hit. Bregman in to score on an Altuve single, and the Astros lead 4-1.
What a shot, huh? Altuve swinging on the first pitch.
When you're hot, you're hot. Even breaks his bat. Pomeranz makes a good pitch to Altuve and breaks his bat, and he throws it out there in the left field for another, hitting another RBI. He's just that hot. He's that locked in right now, and that's why how you get 200 hits a year for all these years and win batting title.
And it looks like that is going to do it for Drew Pomeranz. The strength for the Red Sox has been the bullpen, and they'll need to be near perfect today to give the offense a chance, as Pomeranz fails to record an out in the 3rd. Later today, Game 2 of the American League Division Series between the Yankees and the Indians is on MLB Network. Sabathia against Kluber after the Indians cruised last night behind Trevor Bauer to the 4-0 win. Game 2 between the Cubs and the Nationals and the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers tomorrow, both on TBS. And Drew Pomeranz, who fails to record an out in the 3rd, visibly frustrated after John Farrell grabs him.
Were you a big snapper, Coney?
At times, yes. It's hard to control.
I just love watching his teammates. No one wants to look. They all want to just kind of let him go. Then you walk out of the dugout and they all laugh at you. So
it's better to go down in the tunnel if you can.
That's right.
Carson Smith is on for him. Returned from Tommy John surgery in early September for his first game since May of 2016. And I don't think anybody really expected that Smith would turn into what he has, and that is a very important piece of John Farrell's bullpen in short time.
And this guy is funky. He is funky. He's got a funky delivery. But one thing he does possess is a dirty, dirty slider. This guy's slider is one of the best sliders in the game.
Faces Carlos Correa. The first one backs up on him and allows Altuve to move into scoring position. Throw the pass ball on Christian Vasquez. Had high hopes for Carson Smith initially, but anytime somebody comes back from surgery, I think they were kind of looking at it as, let's see what he's got here in this final month with the rosters expanded, get him set up for a good 2018. He's almost untouchable. Correa hits it foul, and it's 1-1. Hit a home run in the first inning. We look back at it on our StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. A no doubt shot hit at 109 miles per hour off of the bat.
It made a really loud sound.
That it did.
And left in a hurry.
He hit the choo-choo train up there in left field.
You know, AJ, it's almost as if Farrell couldn't get Smith up quick enough there. You know, probably would have liked to have him for the previous hitter, Altuve. As tough as Smith is on right-handed batters, but Altuve just doesn't let you get deep in the count. First pitch hitting, got another RBI single.
Down the middle, 1-2.
You're right. He couldn't get him ready fast enough. This kind of all happened quickly. You have the home run by Springer, the double by Bregman. Next thing you know, Altuve's up, and it just kind of happened, and you couldn't get him up quick enough. And John Farrell, I'm sure, would have loved to have him face Altuve, but try to give your starter. I know it's a bullpen game now, and everyone wants to get to their bullpen, but at some point you need some length from your starter. So he tried to give him one more hitter, didn't work.
It's 2-2. Yeah, David Price, we figured we'd see him at some point today, has kind of become their secret weapon out in that bullpen. But through 2 games, no situations where it's very clear that Price is the guy.
He wants to give David Price plenty of time to warm up. Used to a starting rotation style of warm-ups. Smith can get him out of the high leverage spot here early in this game, and preferably Price would start a fresh inning.
Full count on Correa.
Well, eventually they're going to need somebody to give him length. So that's in a desperate situation like the Red Sox are in. They got to hold him here. They need Carson Smith to get out of this inning, like you said, bring Price in, and they're going to need him for 2, maybe 3 innings, if possible. Because when your starter only goes 2+ in a playoff game, usually you're in trouble.
Price has thrown as many as 40 pitches out of the bullpen in his 5 games. Is not allowed a run. Right now it's Smith and a 3-2. Correa lays off and earns the walk. The first 4 have reached in this inning for Houston, and they're at first and second for Evan Gattis.
Well, another quality at bat from Correa right there, laying off some tough sliders.
And the respect from the Red Sox. 3-2, not laying one in there, going with the slider. You have first base open, but trying to shut it down here as quick as possible. So 3-2 slider shows you how much respect the Red Sox have for Carlos Correa. And I would not be surprised here to see a double steal attempt, at least from Altuve and Correa. Carson Smith, like Keuchel was earlier, is kind of one looking, kind of getting into a rhythm. I wouldn't be surprised, especially early in the count, to see him take off.
Both these teams aggressive on the bases this year. 2 on, nobody out. Evan Gattis takes ball 1. Here comes Smith with a 1-0. That's nowhere close. 2 balls and no strikes.
You can almost see the gray hairs growing in the Boston dugout right now. Type of game that's really hard on pitching coaches and managers.
Three balls and no strikes on Gaddis. This is a Red Sox team that a year ago, Coney, swept out of the division series by the Indians. Last time Boston won a postseason game, it was the clinching game of the 2013 World Series. A 4-pitch walk, and the bases are loaded.
And you're right about the gray hairs, Coney. Carl Willis and John Farrell are over there going, now what do we do? We brought in our right-handed specialist to get the 2 righties out, and he comes in and walks them. Now you have the base loaded with the lefty up.
Still nobody out.
And Carson Smith probably wondering, what do I have to do to get an outside corner from Angel Hernandez?
It's almost like he flinched, right? Angel Hernandez flinched on that pitch.
That 3-0 pitch was a pretty good pitch to be called ball 4.
I think everybody thought it was a strike.
Everyone reacted like it was a strike, from the pitcher to the catcher to the base runner. So
Evan Gaddis thought it was a strike.
He didn't move.
He kind of had to wait.
It's outside, but 3-0. A lot of times you'll see umpires, they'll give that to the guy to help him get a strike and get back into account. So Angel wasn't giving it to him today, though.
Yeah, it didn't light up the K zone, but see, with the human element, a lot of times the count really affects the strike zone. It's an automatic strike on 3-0 a lot of times.
Not that time, and so the base is loaded for Josh Reddick, who has 1 grand slam this year and 5 in his career. Astros with a chance to break it open. Already up 1-0 in this best-of-5 division series. Ball 1.
And other than that 3-0 pitch, Smith hasn't really been close. These are easy takes for hitters. They're balls out of his hand, so you don't even see guys flinching, like thinking about swinging. They know right away, hey, this is a ball.
Caught at third by Marrero. Largely on the roster for his defensive ability, and it comes up big right there for the first out. John Farrell coming out and ready to go to David Price in a bases loaded situation with 1 gone in the 3rd. Houston trying to break it open, and so Farrell calls on Price for the first time. Live every postseason. You can live every moment with the MLB.com at Bat. #1 app for live baseball. The only place to get it all. Download At Bat today. The game perhaps in the balance here, with the Astros already in front 4-1, and the bases loaded against David Price, who's proven to be an important piece, moving from the rotation onto the DL, then onto the bullpen, and in 5 games is not allowed to run.
This is not the spot you had envisioned for him coming in. Preferably, you'd like him to start an inning off, not come in with the bases loaded and 1 out, but Boston has no choice at this point. At least manager John Farrell feels that way.
Interesting decision, like you said, to put the right-handed hitter up and Carson Smith, the right-handed specialist, to bring in David Price here.
For Yuli Gurriel with the bases loaded, takes off of the inside, ball 1. Since moving into the bullpen, opponents 3 for 29 against David Price. The 1-0. Strike one. Down to JP.
David Price told me before this series began he loves being a reliever at this time of year because it allows him to feel this emotion every single game during a series, and certainly, Joe, an emotional moment right now.
Trying to keep the Red Sox in it. With the bases loaded and one gone, he's ready for a 1-1. Here it comes. It's way inside, ball 2.
John Farrell trying anything to keep the Red Sox. I don't think when David Price agreed to go to the bullpen, he thought he'd be coming in the bottom of the 3rd, though. With the bases loaded, he was thinking a 7th, 8th inning, let's get the ball to Craig Kimbrell kind of role.
Inside corner, and a generous one at that. Both strikes Price has gotten called, according to our strike zone on the screen, have been off of the plate.
Catcher's glove setting up off. You be the judge.
Angel's been consistent. He's been consistent on the inside pitch through the whole game.
So now a 2-2. There they get a piece to stay alive.
So what do you think Price's pitch count is? 40?
That's the
50?
most he's done in his 5 games in the regular season. You have the off day tomorrow. He's not pitched in a week. So you would think there's a chance that he can give him some significant length.
Absolutely. I think you could go to 50 pitches. Depending on game situation, Red Sox can get out of this jam right here. First things first.
And that is a 2-2. Just misses and runs the count full on Gurriel.
The normally free swinging Gurriel showing an amazingly pretty good eye right here. Now has a 3-2 pitch coming.
Got in on him, and it's popped up. Sky high, and the infield fly rule in effect as Bogarts puts it away. Price getting a big second out.
Just an absolutely huge out there by David Price. Getting the infield pop up, keep the bases loaded, hold the Astros at 3. But how many times, Coney, as you were a pitcher, I was as a catcher, Christian Vasquez goes out to the mound right here just to say, hey, let's bear down. We're not out of it yet, but hey, I'm coming out here to remind you, let's keep our focus and get out of this, because a lot of times pitchers have a tendency to let up once they get that second out. They take a deep breath and say, whew, I got out of it. And then with 2 outs, the guy comes up and gets a hit.
Yeah, that's a great point. Refocus, because Marwin Gonzalez is in the box right now, batting 8th in this Houston lineup.
Guy's driven in more runs than anybody on this team this year. With the bases loaded and 2 out in the 3rd, Price delivers to him. And another pop-up. Will it stay in play? Vasquez in the on-deck circle, and David Price eludes more trouble. Stranding the bases loaded and keeping it 4-1. Sunday on Fox, we've got the game of the year coming up for you. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers heading back to Dallas in a rematch of last year's playoff thriller that ended the Cowboys' season, sent the Packers to the NFC Championship game. Packers and Cowboys in America's Game of the Week at 4 Eastern, Sunday on Fox. Dallas Keuchel pitching with a 4-1 lead, delivers ball 1 to Chris Young. And doesn't it almost feel, even though Boston's down 3, like the Red Sox have the momentum, with David Price getting out of that inning with no further damage.
It was huge for David Price, obviously, to hold the Astros where they were, and to give the Red Sox a chance here off Keuchel. A long inning for Keuchel, so it'd be interesting to see how he comes out here after sitting in the dugout for a long time. 2 pitching changes, a home run, a lot of traffic, so he was over there for a long time.
Half an hour between pitches.
Now, were you a guy that would get up and move around, or would you stay in your same spot, Tony?
You know, in the new stadiums here, you can get underneath and throw a little bit if you want.
Line out to short. Young the first out.
But you know what? I like watching my offense. I'm fine sitting there watching them run the bases, swinging the bats.
Absolutely. But you do see guys now, like you said, with all the new stadiums have cages right by the dugouts or a tunnel where they can go in, and you see guys move around, stretch. Some guys get up and go in the cage and throw a little bit to try to keep loose. So it's always interesting to watch pitchers and their routines and what they like to do and don't do.
Keuchel against Vasquez. Keuchel has retired 6 in a row since the Red Sox put 2 runners on with 1 out in the second. There's some missed opportunities early in this game for Boston, leaving 2 on in the first and in the second. Houston scoring twice in the first and the third. The lead 4-1. 1-1.
Well, these first 2 games, we've seen the differences in the offense. The Red Sox have to string hits together, and the Astros hit home runs. So they're one swing of the bat. They're scoring 1, 2, 3 runs, whatever it is. Whereas the Red Sox have to 1, 2, 3 singles to score.
And of course, the obvious difference from last year is that David Ortiz is now not in the lineup. His 38 home runs, but it's not just that. Every returning regular hit fewer home runs this year than they did in 2016. It's already going to be tough to replace Ortiz, and then they had several guys take steps back in the power category.
In the year of the home run.
Yeah, it's backwards. Keuchel home with a 1-2. 2 out. Yeah, the year of the home run and the year of the strikeout, and overall the Red Sox don't do either. They're last in the American League in home runs, but they also have really low strikeout totals.
Low strikeout totals and speed. Speed on defense, speed on the bases. They're more likely to steal a base and manufacture a run this year as opposed to wait around for the 3-run homer, which makes it difficult when they do fall behind like this.
Here's Marrero. And a breaking ball for a strike. A little bit like the 2015 Kansas City Royals that knocked the Houston Astros out. 2014 Royals as well. But teams to rank last in the league and reach the postseason, it is rare over the course of history. 2015 Royals team that beat the Astros. They were second last, and they happened to get hot in the postseason to make that run.
Those 1906 White Sox, 7 home runs for the season. 7, Coney.
Speedy though. Great speed. Keuchel with another 1-2-3 inning. He seems to have settled in with his 4-1 lead. Well, with the game and perhaps Boston's season hanging in the balance, David Price came in with the bases loaded in the third and got back-to-back pop-ups to keep it at 4-1. And now the goal will be to give John Farrell and these Red Sox some length. 9-1-2 for the Astros. Brian McCann to lead it off. Ball 1.
It's another former starter or a starting pitcher that's pitching from the stretch, AJ. I guess it's more of a mindset. I'm in the bullpen now. Price's windup isn't that much different than the stretch position.
Yeah, his windup is a modified stretch anyway, so it's not that much of a difference for him from his normal windup to go to this stretch for full time. But for some reason, guys, when they go to the bullpen, they feel like they need to throw from the stretch all the time. And just a different mindset, like you said, David.
2 balls and a strike on McCann.
It's interesting right there. The Red Sox shifted in the middle of the at bat, so they must have felt like McCann maybe bunted until he got a strike, and then as soon as he gets a strike, they shifted the third baseman over.
That'd be the first time Brian McCann tried to bunt his way on. Fouled off 2-2. This is 2 pitches ago prior to the pitch what you're talking about, AJ.
See the way they're lined up here, and then, oh wait, Guerrero. Let's do a sprint over there to second base. We'll move Pedroia out to the rover position. So the Red Sox have some sort of stat that says after a strike, Brian McCann pulls the ball more on the ground.
Leading off this 4th for Houston and pulling one directly at Pedroia, playing that rover position like you talked about for the first out of the 4th inning. Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Looking back at David Price getting out of that jam.
Well, high stress, high leverage, pounding guys inside. Price certainly has his velocity back. You see, that's more of a cutter there at 89, but he felt like his best chance was to beat guys on the inside corner on right-handed batters, and clearly got the job done and maybe saved the season for the Red Sox right there.
Top of the order for Houston. Price to George Springer. And part of the story with David Price over the course of his career has been his inability to perform in October. In fact, over the course of his career, he's 0-8 as a starter. Probably the most success came for him when he was out of the bullpen as a rookie in Tampa Bay. 2-0.
It's mind-boggling he'd be 0-8 as a starting pitcher with the stuff he has, the career he's had, and that many opportunities. It just doesn't seem to fit. And he's pitched some good games, but the one narrative about David Price is he's 0-8 as a starter. He needs to get that one, and once he gets that win, people will stop talking about it once he gets rid of that 0 in that column, especially in Boston. If he was starting a game in Boston, that would be the place to get that one, because that would take a lot of pressure off him and people will stop talking about it.
Springer turns on it over third and down the line. It is a fair ball. And Intendi over to grab it. Springer's got a 1-out double. Yet another extra base hit for the Houston Astros. We talked about the issues for Price as a starter, but that 2008 season, right after he'd been called up by the Rays, it was against these Red Sox. And in Game 7, came on for his first career save. Locked that thing up. Jet Lowry dropped it out to second, sent Tampa Bay out of the World Series for the first time. 9 years ago now. It's gone from Tampa Bay to Detroit, to Toronto, and on to Boston.
He was barely a couple of years out of Vanderbilt University at that point in 2008.
Alex Bregman with a man on, rolls one to second. Pedroia stumbles, gets to his feet, and gets Bregman just in time. Up to third goes Springer, 2 away.
This is when you tell him to knock it down, son. Follow it around, see what it needs. Pedroia slips. He surrounded the ball right there. He didn't catch it cleanly and gets up kind of making fun of himself like, man, how did I look that bad on such a routine play?
They will intentionally walk Jose Altuve, which seems like, of course you're going to do that. But the problem is, you've then got to face Carlos Correa, unless you decide to really throw the book out the window and put him on too.
Well, at some point you're going to have to face somebody.
Well, I'd take a chance with Gaddis. I mean, if you're...
It's not out of the question with 2 outs. And certainly, even if it's not an automatic intentional walk, if I'm David Price, I'm pitching very carefully here. I'm not giving in to Correa.
You're correct. Even though there's not first base open, there still is a base open. So they know that. But as a catcher, I always hated when they would give you pitch carefully to this guy, because if the pitcher made a mistake, it always looked bad on the catcher because, oh, he told you not to give him anything to hit. Well, I wasn't trying to. Pitcher wasn't trying to. He made a mistake. So if you want me to walk him, just throw the hand in. Throw the forearm.
You get into a defensive mode out there on the mound.
Correa has a home run today. And gets buzzed off of the plate, ball one.
It's the old don't give him anything good to hit, but don't walk him either. So it's a no-win situation, but that pitch right there, the first pitch to Correa, shows me that, hey, David Price is coming after him, and he's thrown a lot of pitches into right-handed hitters. And he blasted one in right there on Correa first pitch.
One out. A strike, 1-1.
And the back and forth nature of Price's game. Hard in, soft away. See if he wants to go back in hard off the plate.
Stays away on the corner, strike two.
Looked like a little backdoor cutter maybe there. A pitch that Price has kind of fallen in love with the last couple years as a starter. See him just kind of start that ball off the plate, Coney, and bring it back.
90 miles an hour.
Hitters give up on that because they see it out of the hand as a ball, and it comes back to the plate for a strike.
At the corners with 2 out. Price trying to get out of another jam. A 1-2. Comes back inside, and it's popped up. Dustin Pedroia slides under it and makes an awkward catch, but a catch nonetheless. And a 0 put up by Price in the 4th. The ALDS presented by Doosan and FS1 is sponsored by Jameson Caskmate. Jameson whiskey finished in craft stout barrels. By T-Mobile. This postseason, there's a new leader in network. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by the Lincoln Continental. Joe Davis, David Cohn, AJ Brzezinski, JP Morosi back here in Houston. Where Dallas Keuchel delivers the first one to Jackie Bradley Jr., strike one. Bit of a rocky road over the first 2 innings for Keuchel. Was able to get out a pair of jams, limit the damage to just 1. And has seemingly settled in, retiring 8 in a row.
Starting to get all of his pitches working. Good changeups now. His curveball into the mix.
It's an awkward swing and a miss, and strike 2.
He just looks more comfortable out there. His rhythm is better. Him and McCann seem to be on the same page now as before. There was a lot of shaking in mound meetings, so just looks more like the Dallas Keuchel we've come accustomed to seeing over the years.
He's gone 14-5 this season with a sub-3 ERA, despite battling injuries for a good chunk of the year. 29-year-old out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, home with an 0-2. One-two. Softly hit along first. Bradley can really move, but Keuchel can really feel. 3 consecutive Gold Gloves for him. And he shovels on to first for the first out of the inning, sending us down to JP.
Well, Joe, as you mentioned, Dallas's hometown of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Keuchel family is here today. His father, Dennis, his mother, Teresa, there they are. His sister, Krista, as well. Dallas was a 3-sport athlete growing up, a quarterback on the football team, actually recruited by the University of Tulsa before playing baseball at Arkansas. His favorite player as a kid, our very own John Smoltz. He wore 29 throughout college and the minor leagues before choosing 60 here in Houston.
What a run it's been for him in Houston. One of the few guys that was a part of all those 100 lost teams. That's ball one on the leadoff man, Bogarts. His debut in 2012. In each of his first 2 years, Houston lost at least 106 games. Keuchel struggled those 2 years, at an ERA above 5. And he said coming to the ballpark every day felt like work. He never looked forward to it. But the silver lining to the whole thing was that on a better team, he probably wouldn't have continued to get opportunities.
That's one of the perks of being in an organization that's rebuilding. If you're a young player, you get more than one shot. If you come up and you struggle a little bit, they have a little bit longer of a leash on you than if you're on, say, the Red Sox or the Yankees. Teams that are trying to compete every year and trying to win every single year. Teams that never seem to go in full rebuild. They don't have that long of a leash because they need you to perform and perform now. And one thing on JP's point, he picked number 60. I don't think he picked number 60. They probably gave it to him, and he just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Most guys want a lower number than 60. They don't want to be offensive linemen.
On 2-1. Bogaerts pops it up, backing out of play. Yeah, that's the kind of number that gets smacked on a guy that you're searching for on the roster in September when rosters expand. They had those 2 seasons where the ERA was above 5, but since then a sub-3 ERA over the last 4 seasons, including the Cy Young year 2015. Up 4-1 in the 5th inning of Game 2 of the American League Division Series. Here he is with a 2-2. Bogaerts sends a pop fly into center field for George Springer. 2 out. One thing Dallas Keuchel loves is pitching in this ballpark. That Cy Young season, he was 15-0 here. Remembers the roar of this Minute Maid Park crowd in those postseason games. Said he told a few of the guys that had never experienced it, well, you be ready. You might want to grab a couple of earplugs because it sounds like there are 90,000 in here when they have the roof closed and calendar turns to October.
I remember playing here in the 2005 World Series, and they had the roof closed, and the Killer Bees, Bagwell, Biggio, Berkman, and they would have a buzzing like bees that they would play all the time, and it was so loud and it got the crowd going. This can get to be one of the loudest stadiums when the crowd gets into it and the Astros are scoring runs.
These days they always are. And on to Dustin Pedroia.
Well, it is shaped up to be a unique year, really, in both leagues, where you have teams like the Astros that really believe this is their year. They've made all the moves. The Verlander trade here with the Astros. Certainly on the other side in the National League, the Dodgers feel like it's their year. Cleveland feels like this is their year. So it's making for a really exciting postseason match where fan bases are really hungry.
1-2 on Pedroia.
The Nationals, they think it's their year.
It's got to be their year.
Yeah, eventually they're going to get out of the first round, the Nationals. The Cubs won it last year, so they're kind of spoiled. Their fans are spoiled now.
Now they expect it.
Yeah, exactly.
Astros had never won a world championship. Been to the World Series one time. They think this is the team. This is the group. Keuchel's 1-2.
Pitch number 83 on the way, so Keuchel really in need of a 1-2-3 inning here to feel like he can go out for the 6th and get through that.
Pedroia rolls it to short where Correa scoops it up, and Dallas Keuchel has retired 11 in a row. You're watching the ALDS on FS1 presented by Doosan. It's 4-1 halfway home. 1 1/3 so far for David Price, trying to keep the Red Sox in this game. It's 4-1 to the bottom of the 5th, and Evan Gattis climbs in. Strike 1. We figured Price could be the MVP of this Boston team if they're to make a run. And so far, so good. If you're just joining us, entered a bases loaded situation with 1 out in the 3rd. Got out of that. Got out of his own jam in the 4th.
The pitch count's in good shape. Number 24 coming.
And so conceivably, if he keeps it in this range, you could see him going 4, maybe even 5 innings, depending on how long they want to push him with the off day tomorrow.
Price versus Keuchel, that's usually a marquee matchup. You just usually don't see David Price coming out of the bullpen. It's been a great Game 2 matchup if Price was healthy and starting.
It's the way it was written, or at least planned out, and it didn't work that way. At one point in the offseason, Brian Cashman, the general manager of the Yankees, called the Boston Red Sox the Golden State Warriors when they acquired Chris Sale. They had a super team brewing there.
I mean, it was going to go Sale, Price, Porcello coming off his Cy Young Award season. Stephen Wright, who was an All-Star the year before. Oh, yeah, Drew Pomeranz, who wound up being the #2 starter. Went out and acquired Doug Fister midseason. It is a completely different look to this rotation and now this bullpen than anybody thought it would be. Evan Gattis starting the 5th for Houston and looking at strike 3 through the back door. Home runs mean more this postseason as T-Mobile is guaranteeing at least $1 million for hurricane recovery efforts with every home run hit. For $10,000, you can help break $1 million by tweeting hashtag HR4HR. And T-Mobile donate an additional $1 per tweet. Been about the long ball for the Astros much of this season. No different in this series. Correa had a 2-run homer in the first. Springer had a solo shot in the 3rd. And now Josh Reddick taking a strike.
The way the Astros are swinging it right now, they might get there. They might get to $1 million just with them, with their home runs.
That's flipped foul, and it's 0-2.
And usually you don't see home runs in the postseason because you're facing the best of the best as far as pitching goes. So it just shows you how locked in the Astros are, that they're hitting home runs off guys that, one, don't give up a lot of home runs, and you just don't see it in the postseason. You usually have to kind of rally with hits, and hopefully you get a home run here and there, but the Astros just keep mashing.
Ball and 2 strikes, and the thing that they do that really sets them apart, Coney, is that they hit all these home runs and they do it without striking out. I mean, a lot of times you see the high home run teams also have a lot of strikeouts. But this is a rare group. First time in more than 2 decades that a team has led the league in both home runs and fewest Ks. Two and two.
You know, we talked to A.J. Hinch before the game, and he specifically targeted Jay Reddick here. J.J. Reddick in terms of his style of going for less strikeouts, more contact. Of course, Reddick is very good defensively. We saw his arm come into play in Game 1 of this series.
Here comes Price with a 2-2, and he's got back-to-back strikeouts to open the 5th. The best team in baseball offensively all season long, and so far in this ALDS, no different. 6 home runs over the first game and a half.
They just keep doing it. The Astros are playing their game through the first game and a half of this series. The Red Sox are trying to keep up, but because of the lack of power in the Red Sox offense, it's hard to keep up when teams can punch you and knock you out with one swing of the bat. It's hard to sustain rallies against these pitchers, so you need that in your lineup at some point.
Strike 1 on Gurriel. It was the first man that Price faced with the bases loaded in the 3rd. Got him to pop out to short. 2-1. Gurriel sends a high drive down the left field line, but it hooks foul and evens the count up at 2-2.
The people in front of us, I love their reaction. If you watch the hitter, he knows he hit it foul, but everyone stood up right in front of our box because they thought it was a home run. But Gurriel never left the box, knew it right away. But it's always awesome to watch the crowd on any ball that's hit towards the outfield. They think right away, home run. And with the way the Astros have been swinging it, there's a good chance.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't blame him around here. Challenged him there, fouled it off, still 2-2. Pitch count at 36, and while he's a strike away from striking out the side, it's taken a few more bullets in this inning.
Here's the problem for the Red Sox now. Yes, they have an off day tomorrow, but how quickly can David Price bounce back from 36 if he gets to 50? How many days off does he need?
A little bit low. The count goes full.
He's going to need more than one to answer your question.
Yeah.
You get up to 50 pitches. Considering what he's gone through this year with his elbow issues and forearm issues, that would be a tall order to ask him to come back with 1 day rest after pushing to past 50 pitches.
In his third inning of work here, ready for a payoff. Tap past the mound is short. Bogarts. 1-2-3 with a great stretch in the back end from Hanley Ramirez. So David Price, 2 1/3 scoreless innings. Dallas Keuchel has been tremendous for Houston with 11 in a row retired. He's back out there on the other side of this break in Game 2 of the ALDS. Andrew Benintendi takes strike one from Dallas Keuchel. Off we go here in the 6th inning with the Astros in front 4-1, getting 2 in the first and 2 in the third. The Red Sox trying to solve Keuchel, who's retired 11 in a row since the Red Sox had plenty of traffic over the first 2 innings. It's a big bounce at a first and an easy play for Gurriel. Now these Astros got off to such a hot start this season. They were 60-29 at the break. Best record in franchise history at that point. And rewarded accordingly with 6 All-Stars to lead baseball. But then the injury bug bit them. Not just Carlos Correa, but they had Springer out, McCann out, Gaddis, a couple of starting pitchers in Keuchel and in McCullers. End of the deadline. August 31st, in the final seconds, acquired Justin Verlander from Detroit. Went on to win their first American League West title. First title overall since 2001. Brian McCann out for a word with Dallas Keuchel. And of course, there was some disappointment in the clubhouse that they didn't make a move before the non-waiver deadline. But then Dallas Keuchel did something about it when August 31st rolled around, JP.
He did, Joe, and it was in that last hour before the stroke of midnight on August 31st when Dallas Keuchel, through an intermediary, was able to get Justin Verlander's cell number and call him. They had a very brief conversation. Justin was thinking about a lot of things about his no-trade clause and the decision, but the one thing Verlander told me that has always stuck with him, Keuchel told him, if you come here, you will not regret it.
And Keuchel said, you know, we're finally so close after all those losing seasons. This is the time to take advantage. 1 ball and 1 strike on Mookie Betts. And before the Justin Verlander move, and there's Jeff Luhnow, the general manager, but before they made that move on August 31st, Keuchel even said there was a disconnect between what the clubhouse wanted and what the front office wanted. A lot of the guys in the clubhouse feeling that the front office protected prospects, held them in too high a regard, wasn't willing to really go after it when here they were with the best record in the American League. Well, when they pulled the trigger on that Verlander deal for the first time, Keuchel said since he'd been here, he thought that the front office and their wishes finally lined up with what the clubhouse wanted.
As a player, you just want the front office to be behind you. I know the Astros rebuilt, and
that swings and misses, kicks away from McCann, but he throws him out.
As a player, I want the front office to be behind me. And if they have the opportunity to give up some prospects who I might never play with as a player, then do it, because this is our shot. We might only get one shot at this. So I understand where Dallas Keuchel, why he said that. I understand his point. But you better be really good if you're making that statement, because if you're the 25th guy, they're like, see you later, enjoy Corpus Christi or AAA or whatever it is, or another organization.
Yeah, there's a pecking order to be able to speak out like that, and certainly fair enough. But you know, the offseason they did expend some of those prospects, and namely to get Brian McCann, gave up a couple of really good-looking young pitching prospects to the Yankees, and of course going out and targeting Josh Reddick in the offseason and spending dollars in the free agency market and overpaying for him as well. So certainly that is a big move when you get Justin Verlander. It wasn't an easy trade to make.
On ball, no strikes on Hanley Ramirez. Boston without a base runner since the second inning against Keuchel, who's retired 13 in a row. That one just barely misses, ball 2.
And that trade for Verlander gave them a shot of adrenaline, of just, all right, we're all together now. Let's do this. Not only his pitching, but just the fact his presence is there, and it showed, again, the front office is behind the players. So let's go do this, and let's go see how far we can get. Try to win this World Series.
Now, the other thing is that starting pitching had become the biggest question for them, because Keuchel and McCullers were banged up. And it was looking like here they are with this great season, a great offense, and not enough starting pitching to carry them. Went out and made that deal, and Verlander has been really the best pitcher in baseball since. Keuchel nearing the end of his afternoon. 93rd pitch is strike 2 on Hanley Ramirez. There's action in the bullpen. Chris Davinsky, and his crowd will rise to show appreciation for the performance Keuchel has put forward. Full count. And a 94 pitches now. Good chance this will be the final batter that he faces. Sitting on 8 strikeouts today. Sitting on 7 strikeouts today. And 13 in a row retired.
You know, in a 5-game series, Boston thinking, boy, if we could just split here in Houston, mission accomplished. Well, for the home team, protecting home field is a big deal. Win the first 2 games at home, you guarantee that you have a safeguard in Game 5 coming back if you cannot complete the job in Boston.
A payoff. And a pop fly. Backing out of play. Will do it again.
That was coming right at me. I was hoping Coney would jump in front of me and knock it down, but he didn't get up. So I guess I'm going to have to catch it if it comes up here.
That was on you. They walked it. Hanley Ramirez works that count and keeps the inning going, getting Chris Young to the plate. as A.J. Hinch comes out, and it looks like that will do it for Dallas Keuchel. So the 2-out walk from Ramirez here in the 6th gives Boston its first base runner since the 2nd. And Hinch is going to call down to the bullpen and listen to this ovation. The ALDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by the Lincoln Continental. 4-1 game at Houston with the Astros already in front, 1 game to none. Dallas Keuchel finished, and he hands it off to Chris Davinsky. Davinsky will get a pinch hitter as Mitch Moreland is sent up there in place of Chris Young by John Farrell. More than 20 home runs for the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons. It's been a great pickup for Boston. Fades in, strike 1.
Sure, A.J. Hinch feels like with Davinsky's changeup, it's okay. Even though he does not have the platoon advantage here with the pinch hitter Moreland up. Keuchel, the starting pitcher, has 1 run out there on first base, just in case. Looking for a pickup from Davinsky.
Moreland swings and misses, and it's quickly 0-2.
And that's Davinsky's pitch, changeup. You don't hear very often that a guy's a changeup pitcher, but this guy throws so many changeups. He literally is a changeup pitcher. He throws it all the time. The bottom just falls out of it. Any count, any time, any situation. And nobody seems to be able to square it up.
Worked a 1-2-3 inning yesterday. On only 10 pitches. Ahead of Moreland. No balls and 2 strikes in a 4-1 game in the 6th.
Classic circle change grip. But just like you're saying, AJ, it does something different every time. One time it'll go down, straight down. Another time it'll go side to side and down a little bit.
Moreland able to get a piece of a fastball at 95, and so he shows him those 3 filthy changeups and then comes back with that.
That pitch for me was a setup to throw another changeup on this next pitch. He wanted to show Mitch something different. Tried to raise his eye level, go above the zone, which he did at 95. I don't be surprised if he comes back with that changeup. And the reason his ball moves different, Coney, is because he kind of throws at a weird and awkward arm angle. He's so over the top that when he pulls it down, it just the angle that comes out of his hand causes the different movement.
1-2. Back to the change and a good take this time.
And I would not be surprised if this whole at bat the rest of the way Mitch Moreland gets nothing but changeups.
Got another one and takes another one. After falling behind 0-2, he's worked it full. Vasquez due next. Moreland can reach. Boston would get the tying run to the plate here in the 6th inning. Down 1 game to none in this best of 5. Ramirez will take off with a pitch. Here it comes. And he stays alive.
And another changeup. He used the one fastball to set up more changeup. So Brian McCann, I think, is going out here to just say, hey, what do you think about maybe trying to rush him with the fastball or slide step changeup, just something different in Davinsky's windup or a different pitch, just to try to, because if you're Mitch Moreland, you know you're getting a changeup, and he looks like he's kind of sitting on it because he's had such good takes at it, and he's seen 5 of them now, so he knows what it looks like.
Well, I know we have Keith Hernandez in the studio today. I can remember him yelling at me when I pitched for the Mets. This guy can't beat you, meaning don't walk him because the next guy can tie the game up. So whatever you throw, you better get it in the strike zone.
Popped up. Another changeup, and it gets the job done. That's Correa on the right side of the infield to finish the Red Sox in the 6th. Eduardo Rodriguez into the game for only his 2nd career relief appearance. His last start of the regular season got lit up by these Astros. Gave up 5 runs over 1 2/3. This is outside to Marwin Gonzalez with the first pitch, and largely because of that, finds himself in more of a swingman role here in the postseason. Not as much of a consideration for the 3rd or 4th starter job. One ball, 1 strike.
His appearance here kind of takes the guesswork out if the series goes to 4. There'd been some questions whether Rodriguez or Porcello would start game 4. With him coming in to pitch here, it looks more like John Farrell's leaning towards Porcello if it gets to a game 4.
That's a fair ball, and it hits off the sidewall, ricocheting to Bogarts. Great hustle from Xander Bogarts to hold Gonzalez to a leadoff single. You know, the initial plan would have been, you figure you're down 2-1, you get it to a game 4, you bring Chris Sale back, but how the Astros battered him around yesterday, seemingly him wearing down as he's done several times in his career, and talking with John Farrell today, it doesn't seem like that is anywhere close to a sure thing that it would be Sale if the Astros or if the Red Sox did get it to game 4.
Great job by Bogarts there to chase that down off the ricochet and hold Gonzalez to a single.
Absolutely. One of the many funky angles here at Minute Maid Park. And Joe, you're right about Chris Sale. I don't know that Chris Sale will take the ball if they give it to him, but with his numbers and the way, the amount of innings he's thrown, is that really an option that you want to go?
Here's Brian McCann, and he gets hit. Clutching that front hand. The Astros have him at 1st and 2nd with nobody out.
Right off the knuckles. And the reaction of McCann tells you everything you need to know.
McCann did everything right. He tried to get out of the way. He tried to get his hands in, but that was just a chaser. It was just chasing at him, and there was nowhere for him to go.
And so McCann will stay in the game. Rodriguez off to a rough start here with a leadoff single, and then he hits a batter. Now it's the top of the order. George Springer's introduced, and out comes John Farrell. Looks like a short leash for Eduardo Rodriguez. He'll go back into the bullpen in a 4-1 game in the 6th. Well, the Indians got off to a good start last night in a 4-0 win over the Yankees. Tonight they have Corey Kluber going against CC Sabathia. And tomorrow, game 2 in the National League, Cubs and Nats in D.C. Diamondbacks and Dodgers in Los Angeles. And into the game for Boston is Addison Reed, trying to keep it close. 2 on for Houston with nobody out, and the Astros already in front 4-1.
Well, this is the spot, for the Red Sox. Down 3 runs right here. First and second, nobody out.
Well, they already got out of 1 bases loaded and 1 out. David Price got out of that, and they brought him in. So John Farrell's going with his big guns earlier in the game than what you would expect, because he has no other choice. They have to try to keep this game close and hope they can get to Houston's bullpen and try to split this series in Houston.
Top of the order, George Springer looks at strike 1. The ball started today with a short start from Drew Pomeranz. Failed to record it out in the 3rd. And was punished to begin that inning by Springer, who took him the other way with a home run. Two on, nobody out. And a bouncing ball deflected off of the mound. Pedroia gets the out at second, and that's all. At the corners with 1 out, and now Addison Reed to face Alex Bregman.
And that ball that was just hit was probably a dead double play ball, but Addison Reed gets his glove on it, slows it down, allows Springer to reach, and so instead of 2 outs and a runner on 3rd, now they have 1st and 3rd with 1 out. Sometimes you pitchers, you just can't get out of the way. Get out of the way.
It's instinct. But that was headed right to Pedroia.
Perfectly placed, strike 1.
As soon as this ball's hit, you think double play, and I promise you, Pedroia was like, let it go, it'll come right to me, but instead they get 1 out, and like I said, pitchers, come on, get out of the way.
Or catch it and turn it.
Either one.
One ball, 1 strike on Bregman. Addison Reed, a deadline pickup for the Red Sox, and has been part of their biggest strength, and that is the bullpen. One of the best in baseball this year. And lately it's been Price, and then Reed, and then Kimbrel, with Carson Smith sprinkled in. But no leads to protect in this series so far. After Bregman, it's Altuve.
Pretty good spot to be hitting it if you're Alex Bregman, with Altuve hitting behind you as hot as he is. The Red Sox know it.
Got one by him, 2-2. Talk about the confidence of this Alex Bregman. Homered on the first swing of his postseason career. His 2nd overall pick out of LSU. They figured would thrive on this big stage. High pop fly into right. Gonzalez back to tag at 3rd. Running catch for Betts, and then the ball falls out of his hand. It's all turning up Houston in this one. The out counts, but Gonzalez tags and scores from 3rd, and it's 5-1.
Well, obviously it's shallow, and this part right there, as Betts tries to get rid of it too quickly. Gonzalez had no inkling to go on this at all. And then that happened.
All the breaks. Houston's getting all the breaks. When's the last time you saw a ball fall out of a guy's hand when nothing's really happening?
Altuve put on intentionally for the 2nd time today. tuck rule? Is his arm coming forward?
Yeah, exactly. You got to go to the NFL rule book.
Mookie Betts is just trying to get this ball in, just to basically get it into the infield as quick as possible. When he does, it slips out of his hand and leads to a run scoring for the Astros.
And you said it, Coney. There was no chance Marwin Gonzalez was going to even attempt to score until he saw that ball get away from Betts. 2 on with 2 out. Here's Correa trying to crack it open. That is down the line, a fair ball, and it goes all the way to the corner. Springer's in to score. Here comes Altuve. A 2-run double for Carlos Correa. So Correa, who started this scoring with a 2-run homer, has clubbed a 2-run double. And now Gaddis unloads to deep left field. That's off of the wall. They are partying in Houston. Up 1 game to none. Up 8-1 in game 2.
Just another missile by Evan Gaddis off the left field wall. Carlos Correa got tired of him walking Altuve, so he comes up with a huge double, and then a mistake by Addison Reed that Evan Gaddis promptly hits off the wall in left field off the Crawford boxes. And this game quickly got away from the Red Sox, but I think it goes back to these guys are all pitching in situations they're not used to pitching. Addison Reed is an 8th inning guy. He's in the 6th because he has to. So short starts.
Reddick down with a ground ball to second, and Pedroia throws him out. But the Astros strike for 4. Extend the lead to 8-1 for the second time in as many games. Houston has put up 8. Well, suddenly it's a pretty comfy lead for Chris Davinsky to work with. Came into a 4-1 game. It's now 8-1 as the Astros take advantage of the air on Mookie Betts. Christian Vasquez starts the 7th and looks at ball 1. And one of the strengths of this Boston team has been the outfield defense all year. The ball simply pops out of Mookie Betts' hand and opens the door for a 4-run inning. This offense doesn't need added opportunities, but Betts gave him one. Hard ground ball and a single to start the inning for Vasquez.
Well, AJ, you kind of said it before the game as we see Mookie Betts just gets ahead of himself. Tries to get rid of it quickly, and that happened. And now this guy's coming along for the ride after Altuve hits 3 home runs in the first game. Correa says, I want to play too. And then Gaddis follows it up on a first pitch hack off the wall for the 8th run. Lights up the Astros bench at this point.
Here's a 20-year-old rookie, Rafael Devers, taking strike 1 from Davinsky. It just happened so fast.
The Astros are a quick strike offense, as we know, but the first 2 games of the series, it's just before the Red Sox can do anything to stop it, it's boom, 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 4 runs are on the board, and the Red Sox are just in shock right now. Their dugout has got to be in shock. There's no way that they saw this coming. They didn't see Chris Sale getting banged around yesterday. They didn't expect Pomeranz, who's pitched so well against the Astros. They just don't know what to do. They're just caught off guard. And right now, they need to kind of get back to Boston after this game if they're not able to come back and enjoy the off day tomorrow and regroup as an organization.
Good luck enjoying that off day, right, Coney?
No, you could just tell, but, you know, the look on the bench, you're dead. It's like a gut punch. The players feel it. You feel shell-shocked. The manager and the pitching coach feel it. They don't know which moves to make. As AJ said, we're going makeshift here. We're doing things that we normally wouldn't do.
Devers called out on strikes, 1 away.
Searching for answers.
And that's all they have left to do at this point. When you get a short start from Pomerantz, and your long guy is one of your starters in Rodriguez, and he can't get out of an inning, and David Price has to give you a bunch of innings, and you bring in one of your setup guys in the 6th inning, that's a sign to me of, I don't want to say panic, but they're trying anything. They're just whatever we can do to try to get through this game is where the Red Sox are at.
And you got no choice when your starter only goes 2 innings. Here's Bradley. Swings at the first pitch and pops it back into the seats.
Now you're staring at a Game 3 at Fenway with a pitcher, a starting pitcher that wasn't on your team to start the season, who you picked up in Doug Fister.
Who's had success in the postseason. But I guarantee if you would ask any Red Sox fan at the beginning of the season, hey, you're down 2-0, Game 3 at Fenway, who do you got pitching? Pretty sure no one would have said Doug Fister.
By the way, A.J. Hinch telling us that it was still one of those things where Peacock and Morton and McCullers were all available today. He's not had to use any of those guys. And if that was going to be the case where he could get through cleanly, sounded like it would probably be Brad Peacock for Game 3 at Fenway. That would be Peacock against Fisker, just like everybody drew it up a couple months ago, right? Game 3 of the ALDS. Nope.
Peacock's had a tremendous year for the
Sure
Astros.
has.
So he deserves the start. A.J. Hinch said he kind of held them together when Keuchel was down and McCullers was down. He was the guy.
That one's jammed into short center field, and Springer runs under it for the 2nd out. And in the case of the Red Sox, in that it's Fisker, it's more, well, who's been the least bad lately. And big thing for Fisker is the postseason success he's had over the course of his career. 4-1 with a 178 and 8 career postseason starts. But it's been a while. Yeah, Boston season, barring a big comeback here, will be on the brink of ending in a sweep for the 2nd year in a row. Xander Bogaerts 0 for 7 in this series after the hot finish to the regular season. Hits one back up the middle. That's Correa, and that's the inning. We stretch in Houston with the Astros all over the Red Sox in Game 2. The ALDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Blade Runner 2049, now plain rated R. And by Hankook Tire, chase down your passion, never halfway. Back in Houston, take a look at our Budweiser game summary. The Astros, for the 2nd day in a row, have sprung for 8 runs, and the 2 guys that weren't involved in the 8-run Game 1 have been today. Springer and Correa, both hitting home runs. Correa's driven in 4. The lone bright spot for the Red Sox, David Price out of the bullpen, 2 2/3 to keep him in the game, but Dallas Keuchel kept the Red Sox at bay, and the bullpen has after Keuchel. Here's Austin Maddox, the latest out of John Farrell's pen.
In those 13 games during the regular season, impressed Farrell enough to make this roster.
Rafael Devers, after hitting, stays in the game at 3rd. Yuli Gurriel leading off this inning. Tails in for a strike.
Yeah, by the time the bottom of the 6th was done, there was 4 runs on the board. As Josh Reddick made the last out. Contrary to popular belief, AJ, Josh Reddick doesn't play for the Philadelphia 76ers, like I suggested before.
No, I don't think he can shoot as well as J.J. Reddick either, but it's okay.
I know who you meant. Here comes a 2-1. Gurriel gets under it. Vasquez to give it a look. Out of room. If this score holds, in Boston postseason history, only one other time have they failed to hold a lead in either of the first 2 games of a postseason series. It was the 2004 American League Championship Series against the Yankees, where they had the famous comeback and eventually won that first World Championship in a long, long time. Red Sox 7 World Series titles, including 3 over the last 13 years. That was after the 86-year drought. Snapping it with a championship in 04. Winning another in Pedroia's rookie season of 07. And then in 2013.
The Red Sox, like the Astros, really have the nucleus in place of young superstar potential players. And you look around at Betts and Benintendi and Bogart. Now Rafael Devers at third base. I mean, the nucleus is there. Pitching didn't work out because of injuries this year, David Price namely.
Got a chunk of Vasquez.
It got a big chunk of Vasquez.
Yeah.
So you want to be a big league catcher. Right off the kneecap.
Pad doesn't help a ton there.
It's well protected, but it's just in such an awkward spot. It still stings when it hits you. There's places you can get hit that don't hurt as much, like in the thigh area and stuff like that. But when you take one right off a joint, whether it's your wrist or your knee, like Vasquez just did, those are the ones that really sting. Nice move by Angel Hernandez to give him a little bit of time walking around and clean the plate now. Just to give Christian Vasquez a little bit of a breather.
Eighth pitch of this at bat for Gurriel, and he fouls another. Now he's trying to play it off like he wasn't in a ton of pain.
Not only does it hurt, but it's also 8-1 right now. So that's a look of, oh boy, that hurt and we're losing. To your point, Coney, I agree. The Red Sox have the makings of a team similar to the Astros, but some of the guys took a little step back this year. Betts, his numbers are a little bit down from last year. Bogarts, Benintendi, his first full season. So they have all the pieces in place. They have the pieces in place, but they need these guys to continue their growth to get to that next level if they end up not coming back and winning this series.
Ground ball to the hole, it's short. Bogarts double clutches and throws late. Gurriel's aboard to lead off this seventh inning. And the hope was that these Red Sox, with a lot of the guys that played in the postseason last year, a lot of these young guys with that added experience, getting swept by Cleveland, would be a different story this time around with the added year of experience. Of course, Devers not part of that team, but the other guys all logged really important postseason experience there. Here they are a year later, finding themselves a game away from another quick exit.
Experience can only take you so far. If you can't get the pitching and you run into a team like the Astros that are just hammering the ball, you can be as experienced as you want. It doesn't matter.
Marwin Gonzalez. Let's check in with JP.
Well, Joe, AJ mentioned before that the Red Sox really have 3 center fielders out there. And when I spoke to Dave Dombrowski, their GM, earlier this week, Dave said that they do remind him of a group that he built in Montreal. Moises Alou, Marquise Grissom, and the should-be Hall of Famer, Larry Walker.
Climbs a ladder here and a pop fly to right. There's Mookie Betts. 1 out.
Very high praise from Dave Dombrowski. Those three guys in Montreal, that's three pretty good names there. Larry Walker, as JP said, could be, should be a Hall of Famer. Lou had a great career, and Marquise Grissom was one of the best teammates I ever played with.
Larry Walker maybe got unfairly penalized by playing in Colorado, and the numbers somewhat being inflated there, at least the perception is. But Larry Walker was a 5-tool player. He could run, could throw, he played good defense, hit for power. Mookie Betts has got those kind of tools. Speed plus power.
1 on 1 out. Here's Brian McCann. Austin Maddox comes home and gets a high strike. Brian McCann, 33 years old. His 13th season. Came over in a trade last November, trying to recapture some of the form from earlier in his career when he was a 7-time All-Star with Atlanta. He hadn't quite been the same guy since that shoulder surgery that he had in 2012. Well, the power numbers are still there in New York, taking advantage of the short porch where he was a really good fit for that park. And hammers this ball down the right field line. That's into the corner and off of the wall. A long single for Brian McCann, and the Astros at the corners with 1 out.
Absolute bullet off the bat of Brian McCann right there. The Astros just keep trying to pile on, score runs. And right now, the Red Sox, they look like a beaten team. I know it's only the second game of this series, but the look on their faces just isn't a confident look in any of their guys.
They're getting outscored in this series now 16-3. Fifth time up there for George Springer, who grew up a Red Sox fan in New Britain, Connecticut. It'll be a special thing for him to head back to Fenway to play in a postseason game on Sunday. To hundreds of games there as a kid. Times him and his dad and his uncle and his grandparents would go to multiple games a week. First time that his dad was George Jr., his grandpa George Sr., but first time George Jr. saw George III play at Fenway made him cry. Back to their days going there when George was growing up.
Hard hitting New Britain, Coney. Did you ever play there? I played Double-A there twice.
Never did, but I do know that's sort of the line of demarcation between Yankee country and Red Sox nation.
Well, I was there with the Twins, so we didn't really have a pony in that fight, dog in that fight. So, but hard hitting New Britain, one of the stops in my minor league tour of my career. Double-A ball for the Twins.
Well, Springer talks about a very special moment in his baseball life, had to do with the New Britain minor league team. And another Twins farmhand like yourself, Torrey Hunter, one day pulled Springer aside while he was a young kid, played catch with him. And that simple gesture went a long way in inspiring George to chase his dreams to be a big leaguer.
I played with Torrey there, so maybe I was there.
You might have been there that day. You didn't help any kids out chasing their dreams?
No, I did not, unfortunately. Torrey was a little better at that than I was back then, so that is a great story. I remember Torrey brought him on the field, I think, and played catch with him, and there's some pictures out there of it. And it's just a cool story that now, almost 20 years later, here he is in the big leagues and going to go to Fenway and play in the postseason.
Maddox home with a payoff, and Springer grounds it foul. And he's now turned into one of those guys that is making other young kids' days. This is a really good young player, but a good young guy. Said his personal goal now is to play the game for those young kids and the families that are coming to watch him, that he sees in the crowd, sometimes pauses between pitches and picks out a young family in the crowd and is inspired by them. Let's check in with JP.
The Springer family is amazing. They have really gathered a lot of relief supplies up in Connecticut and paid to have them shipped down here to Houston, Texas. So even though George does not make his offseason home here in Houston, making a big impact there back home.
And in the first games back here after the hurricane, where the Astros swept the Mets, he hit a big home run, his 30th of the season, and then saluted the crowd when he got home, pounded the Houston Strong patch on his chest. He's walked all over the bases. Carl Willis, the pitching coach, coming out again. There have been a lot of these visits today between him and Farrell. Now the AL playoffs will continue on Sunday on FS1. We'll be at Fenway, and it should be a very interesting atmosphere there. The Red Sox laying an egg in the first two games of this series. That'll be at 2 o'clock. And the Indians and the Yankees at 7:30 Sunday on FS1 and on Fox Sports Go. Astros will need to, the Red Sox will need to at this point win games 3 and 4 at Fenway to force a game 5 back here, which will be Wednesday night next week if it got that far.
Not a lot of happy looks on the Red Sox fans' faces in the crowd here. They've kind of run into a buzzsaw in the first 2 games, and they haven't had much to cheer about. A lot of head shaking, a lot of looking down.
We've run into a buzzsaw here in Houston.
Well, the base is loaded, it's Bregman. Strike one.
Kind of feel like the Yankees too about to get underway, or under the gun a little bit with Corey Kluber ready to face them in game 2, and a second-guess decision by a lot of people. You have to stop second-guessing Terry Francona at this point.
At some point, you just have to believe whatever Tito puts out there is the right move. So
that's popped up. And Ramirez camps under it. And listen to the ovation that Jose Altuve will get, because the bases are loaded and there's nowhere to put him like they have the last 2 times up. He's followed up his 3-home run game 1 by reaching all 4 times here in game 2. 2 singles and 2 intentional walks.
And AJ, there's really nowhere to turn for the Boston bullpen right now, as Maddox has got to just really clean up the rest of this game for them almost at this point.
I agree with you, Coney, but John Farrell wants to get Craig Kimbrell in this game. He said it before the game. We talked to him. So if Austin Maddox can somehow get through this inning, I would not be surprised to see Kimbrell, just to get him out there. He hadn't pitched in a few days. Just an opportunity to get his feet wet in this series.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just for work.
You never want to see your closer get work, though.
The MVP chance raining down on Altuve. Takes outside, and it's 2-0. Altuve or Judge? That's a big question for the voters. This Judge had the rookie record 52 home runs. But a 3rd batting title in the last 4 seasons for Altuve, who has been astoundingly consistent this year. He waits on a 2-0. Caught the corner, 2-1. Isn't baseball a beautiful sport? Here are your 2 MVP candidates. 6'7" Aaron Judge, and listed at 5'6", 165, Jose Altuve.
I think he's bigger than 165. If you've ever been around Altuve, yeah, the height isn't there, but he's got some thickness to him. I mean, he's a strong guy.
So 5'5", 166.
I'm thinking more 175, okay. 180.
Wow. A 2-1. You know, Judge, for those 52 home runs, and led the American League in walks and in runs scored, but he also struck out more than any player in baseball. And interesting to see the way the voters weighed that.
Well, who you got, Tony?
I don't think there's a wrong answer, but you know, both of them in their own right are on historical runs. Obviously, Aaron Judge speaks for himself by breaking the all-time rookie home run record of Mark McGwire. It was almost 30 years old. But Jose Altuve, 4 straight years of 200 hits. That's a very small list of people that have done what Jose Altuve has done over the last 4 years.
2 strikes on him with the bases loaded in the 7th. Now the count is full.
Just a special year for both those guys. But for Altuve, the team with the Harvey, with the Hurricane Harvey and all that stuff, and what this Astros organization and team has meant to the city, it'd be real nice for him to win it for himself, for his team, for the people here. All the work they've put in to try to recover from Harvey. So I got my money on Altuve right now. Nothing against Judge. Great year, great player, great kid. But Altuve, just something special about his year this year.
Yeah, so consistent. I think the argument for Altuve is he was there all year long, every month, week to week. Never had any lulls.
Strikes out swinging on a fastball. So the Astros leave the bases loaded, and Jose Altuve is human. Back on the ALDS on FS1, presented by Doosan. All Astros in this one. It is 8-1 after they took the opener 8-2 yesterday. This series likely headed to Fenway Park, with the Astros on the verge of advancing to the championship series. Will Gregerson comes in, and his first pitch to Dustin Pedroia is hit on the ground to third. Alex Bregman tried to barehand it, couldn't get it, and Pedroia is aboard to open the inning. We welcome you inside. Joe Davis, David Cohn, AJ Przinsky, and more the same today for these Astros, who were the best offensive team in baseball all year. No different.
Absolutely. The train just keeps on rolling for the Astros. The Red Sox have, so far in the first 2 games, have 0 answers for the Astros offense. They finally got Jose Altuve out, but it's everyone else. Springer and Correa didn't do anything yesterday. Here they pick it up today, Coney.
Yeah, it's first inning too. You know, when you draw first blood, that always means a lot in postseason. And this the top four hitters in the Astros lineup. Boy, you start with Springer. He came out to play today. You get to Altuve batting third, Bregman and sandwiched in the middle there. It's a formidable 4 before you even get to, you know, Carlos Correa and beyond him.
Pinch runners in the game. It's Brock Holt at first. Getting Pedroia off his feet. Andrew Benintendi. The Yankees, by the way, have taken a 2-0 lead in the first inning on a Gary Sanchez home run against Corey Kluber, who is yet to get out of the first. And he's thrown 37 pitches. One ball, one strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Gregerson's been a solid reliever for a long time, more noted for his slider than anything. At a career 3.02 ERA in 623 games. The veteran right-hander fills in nicely as a setup guy for the Astros, has closer experience as well.
One of the questions coming into the postseason for Houston was how would Ken Giles be in his first postseason outings? Well, there are 2 games here. We're not sure yet because he's not been needed. Good chance that one way or another we will see him before this game's over. A.J. Hinch wanting to get him some work, similar to like you talked about A.J. Craig Kimbrell likely to handle the bottom of the 8th.
I would be shocked if Ken Giles does not pitch the top of the 9th for the Houston Astros today. Just to get him into a postseason game. He hasn't ever pitched in the postseason, so you got to throw him out there just to get his feet wet, get the adrenaline flowing, get the first out of the way.
Here comes Gregerson's 3-2, and Benintendi swings through it for strike 3, 1 gone. Benintendi now 1 for 8 in this series. You knew the Red Sox were going to need somebody to step up. They're going to need Mookie Betts to do what he'd been doing over the final month. He has a few hits, but outside of that, there's not been a whole lot going on offensively for the Red Sox, and truthfully it hasn't mattered much because the pitching's been so bad.
They faced 2 pretty good starters. Let's give the Astros a little bit of credit here. Verlander and Keuchel are 2 pretty good weapons that A.J. Hinch can run out there for the first 2 games of this series.
It's ball 1 on Betts. Now Bogaerts is 0 for 8. He's somebody who is hot to finish the regular season.
2 completely different styles too, AJ, when you think about it. You're facing Verlander, who's upper 90s, fastball, 4-seamers, and then Keuchel, the movement specialist. Darting cutters. So really, they really do complement each other, 1-2.
And from everything we've read and seen and heard from the Astros, Verlander has helped Keuchel. They talk ball all the time. They sit down at meals and talk baseball. They talk baseball on the bench. And it's a big deal to have Justin Verlander on your team.
Well, JP told us about the phone conversation they had earlier. Reddick won't get there. It's 1-2. But with a few minutes left before the deadline, Keuchel called Verlander, and JP mentioned that he said, you won't regret it if you make the move. If you do decide to waive the no-trade clause and come to Houston. And he said, look, you've got it all. You've got the Cy Young. You've got the no-hitters. You've been an all-star. You are an MVP. The one thing you're missing is a world championship. Come win it with us, because the Tigers very clearly are entering a rebuild phase, and at this point are deep into it. The Astros are set up to win for the foreseeable future.
It's still hard to switch teams that first time, especially when you have the power as a player and you've been somewhere your whole career, like Justin Verlander was in Detroit. It's hard to say yes because you just don't know what it's going to be like.
Count evens at 2-2. And as is almost like legend around here now, the conversations went down to the final seconds between Al Avila, the GM in Detroit, and Jeff Luhnow, the head man here in Houston. Now they agreed to a list of prospects about 45 minutes after they first talked, and that left Verlander with 45 minutes to decide whether or not he wanted to make the move. That's not a lot of time to decide on your future. Keuchel said when he got him on the phone, it seemed like he was a little bit panicked, and you don't blame him. Betts seemed to cringe after the swing. Remember, he's been dealing with a thumb injury and a wrist injury over the final month.
Just gets out in front of that slider from Gregerson and kind of clutches his wrist a little bit, his left wrist. And as a hitter, once you start having to mess with your hands and doing things with your hands, that's not what you want to see. And I think things can't get any worse for the Red Sox. All they need is Mookie Betts to be hurt for any length of time.
You can see that thumb cast that he's wearing on there to protect an already kind of injured thumb area, thumb ligament, and hand injury, wrist injuries all year long. Trying to protect it.
The right thumb, the left wrist. Is alive here. And they say that one of the things that makes Mookie Betts himself is that he works so hard. He takes so many extra swings. But that's also likely part of the problem with these nagging thumb and wrist injuries. He overworks it sometimes.
Sometimes as a hitter, you got to know when to say when and when to stop. And once you find that feel you're looking for, that swing path, or you kind of try to groove your swing as a hitter, and once you find it, it's such a long season, you have to stop because your body can't take 1,000 swings a day. You take BP, and some days you just have to say, I'm going to shut it down today and take it easy.
AJ, you can speak to that a little better. Kind of a traditional thumb guard.
Yeah, I've never seen one quite look like that. I've heard of guys wearing like the direct protect, which keeps you protected from getting jammed and kind of getting in the crease of your thumb and your pointer finger, but I've never seen one quite like that. That almost looks like it's a hard piece of plastic that's in there for some different kind of injury, a ligament or whatever he has going on. That's something I've never seen, quite that type of brace before.
And he continues to work against Gregerson, but continues to reach down in pain. Man, I'm surprised he's still in there, actually. I know you don't want to take him out mid-AB, but
well, these last couple swings, you can tell right away that those aren't the typical Mookie Betts swings that he has with the bat speed and the whip that he carries through the zone. These are just almost protective swings, like, hey, try to get this at bat over with so I can get out of here.
Trying to grind it out. Not the easiest of chances, too, with the Gregerson slider, who's been one of the best sliders around for a long time.
To the 9th pitch of the at-bat. Betts clearly in pain here. Man on, one out in an 8-1 game in the 8th. It's a fly ball to left field. And Marwin Gonzalez settles under it for the second out. This is not the kind of thing that typically heals up in a 48-hour span before Boston gets ready for Game 3 in Fenway with its season on the line.
Just looks like he's in pain. You can't hide it. You can't hide your facial expressions when you take a swing and you start grabbing body parts. There's nothing to do. And I'm surprised they let him finish that at bat. After the first one in an 8-1 game, I know they're a little short because of the bench situation, but man, you got to get your guy out of the game there, I think.
Have one outfielder left on the bench, Rajay Davis. Xander Ramirez comes up with 2 gone and swings away and misses strike 1. They've already lost Eduardo Nunez to the knee injury. You know, Pedroia's not 100% dealing with his knee. And Betts, look at him cringing, just in a ton of pain.
But a hard time just getting his batting glove off.
And that was the trainer going over there, hey, let us get you out. And Mookie Betts saying, no, I'm going to finish this game. It's a pride thing. It becomes a pride thing. Like, I do not want to come out of the game. And now John Farrell's kind of chiming in saying, hey, where are we at here? We need to know. We need to figure out if we need to make a move.
I mean, why not, though, right now? Why take any chances? Two and one.
It's a really tough kid. Following the example of Dustin Pedroia, who's played hurt several years of his career.
Interesting when he was talking to Christian Vasquez, he wasn't pointing at his wrist, he was kind of pointing at the top of his hand, which is a really odd spot.
Ramirez ahead in the count, 3-1. Astros 2 in the first, 2 in the third, and 4 in the sixth. Red Sox got their lone run in the second inning and a Jackie Bradley RBI single. Not been a whole lot of drama though as this one's gone on. Three and two. By the way, the Indians have tied it at 2 in the first inning. Kluber and Sabathia giving up a couple. Gregerson's payoff. Ramirez strikes out swing. And the beat goes on for the Astros. Up 8-1 to the bottom of the 8th. And the bullpen has been the strength for these Red Sox this year. And at the back end of it has been Craig Kimbrell, one of the premier arms in the game.
The numbers speak for themselves. It's an 0.68 whip. Not too many base runners.
Gets the middle of the Astros order. It's Carlos Correa going after the first pitch and sending it foul. There are a couple of defensive changes for you. Brock Holt pinch ran for Dustin Pedroia. Stays in the game at second. And Mookie Betts does come out. Rajai Davis in. Other than 2.
Is there a more intimidating presence look than Craig Kimbrell when he's getting his sign with his arm there, kind of bent over, his arm sticking out, staring in? It's a bad feeling when you're in the box and you see that guy out there.
Correa is able to turn it around, but in left, Benintendi's there for the first out. Now, Kimbrell a year ago had his worst year. Had injury problems that included a nagging middle finger injury that was leading to a struggle with command. But as that got healthy, boy, has he been good this year. Now faces a veteran in Carlos Beltran with the bases empty and 1 out. Years old in his 20th season in the majors. And of course, part of one of those seasons was here in Houston back in 2004 when he was 27. One of the great postseason performances the game's ever seen. At .435, homered 8 times, and that was without even making it to the World Series. Beltran, with those 20 seasons and all the great postseason history, has never won a ring. Closest he got was with the Cardinals in 2013. He's got a pinch hit base hit. Time for a game break. We check in with Kevin Burkhardt. All right, KB, and plenty to update you on across baseball and preview you for tonight with the National League Series both beginning. 1 on, 1 out. Here's Cameron Maben. What do you guys like over in the NL? Dodgers and Diamondbacks starting tonight. Cubs and Nationals.
It's just great matchup, similar to here in the American League. When you think about how the Diamondbacks have played down the stretch run here and how well they played head-to-head against the Dodgers, boy, that makes for a heck of a matchup.
The other series might be the best series in all the matchups. Nationals, Cubs, with those pitchers, those lineups, the stars, Rizzo and Bryant and Bryce Harper and Murphy. That's about as good of a postseason matchup in a first round as you can get. Then you add in the intrigue of Scherzer being hurt. There's a lot to look forward to in postseason baseball this year.
Yeah, and after all these years, Strasburg finally looks like he's ready for postseason after being held out 1 year a few years ago and injury issues.
Game 1 tonight. Game 2 tomorrow in the National League. And you can catch all that action on TBS. And the Diamondbacks-Dodgers series, a big part of the fear for the Dodgers was having to face Robbie Ray in Game 1. It's a bouncing ball foul, but Torey Lovullo having to use Robbie Ray to get through that wild card game, and so instead it's Taijuan Walker against Clayton Kershaw tonight.
It's not like Taijuan Walker is a walk in the park.
No, you're right.
I mean, he throws 100 with the nasty slider. He's huge out on the mound. So I know Robbie Ray is the Dodgers' fear, but Taijuan Walker's not too bad either for a number 3 guy.
And his first career postseason AB, Cameron Maben, stays alive at 1-2 on a fastball at 100.
Two guys traded for each other. Padres and Braves a couple years back, right at the last day of spring training.
Maben now 30 years old, a former highly touted prospect with the Tigers. Last couple of years has kind of resurrected his career as he's gotten healthy and back on track offensively. Came over from the Angels at the end of August. Had a really good start for Houston. Hit some big home runs in those first days, but overall 186, and went from being a guy they thought might be a platoon piece in the outfield to just off of the bench.
We've talked about the Justin Verlander trade. Cameron Maben coming to the Astros opened up Justin Upton going to the Angels from the Tigers, and that opened Justin Verlander's eyes to, hey, we're in full rebuild here in Detroit, so let me go to Houston and try to get a ring.
Maben sends it to center. Jackie Bradley's got it. You're right, that was that afternoon, August 31st, and Verlander said that's when he finally gave in to the fact that it probably was a rebuild, and for the first time he thought to himself, you know what, we may not win here in Detroit. Kind of accepted that reality. And a few hours later was when the call came that they had come up with a deal and needed his signing off on it to make the trade. 2 outs for Gurriel. Gurriel kind of a Cuban baseball legend. Spent 15 seasons in the pro league there. And was part of a big baseball family there. His father had been a star player and then managed the Cuban national team. And so the reputation of his family name kept him from ever seriously considering defecting. Finally last year decided to make the jump. In February, left the team hotel while he was playing with the national team. And defected with his younger brother. Said he had to give it a shot at that point. He decided he was running out of time at 31 years old. So they left in the middle of the night. Signed a 5-year contract in July. 2 games in rookie ball. 4 games in A ball. 5 in AA, 4 in AAA, and then was called up to the majors. He strikes out. And the side is retired. On to the 9th inning in Houston. The Astros 3 outs away from a 2-0 series lead. Our Gatorade Extra Effort player profile looks at Ken Giles, who makes his postseason debut here. Really good during the regular season. Comes home with the first one to Mitch Moreland and misses outside ball 1. And you figure A.J. Hinch likes the fact that he gets to get Giles into a very low pressure situation here to break the seal on his postseason experience.
An absolute must for A.J. Hinch to get Giles, much like Kimbrel, to get him into the game, get their feet wet in this series. And it's not a safe situation, but he gets all the jitters out. Tony, you said you were nervous your first postseason appearance, so this is Ken Giles, and he can get the nerves out and get the butterflies gone. So if they need him to close a game out, he can.
No doubt about it. One of the best moves Davey Johnson, the manager of the Mets back in '86 through 1990, did was get me back into a game in relief after I got knocked out of my first postseason experience.
Get him back out there right away, right?
I mean, we saw that a little bit yesterday with Porcello. He threw the ball well. You noted and asked John Farrell in our pregame meeting about that. It looks like possibly Porcello could be lined up for game 4 if it gets that far.
Moreland goes the other way. There's Gonzalez making a lunging catch for the first out of the 9th. Well, with a couple of home runs hit today by the Astros, T-Mobile will be donating an additional $20,000 for hurricane recovery efforts. 17 total homers this postseason. That's $170K they're donating. Can help break $1 million by tweeting hashtag HR4HR. And T-Mobile will donate an additional $1 per tweet. With 1 out in the 9th, it's Vasquez taking ball 1. Well, what's got to change, guys, for the Red Sox to have a chance to pull a miracle in this series, and that would begin on Sunday at Fenway?
They need starting pitching first and foremost. Number 1, they need to get through the first inning without being behind. And they need to get their offense going and get a lead. I mean, that it's pretty simple. It sounds simple, but
base hit for Vasquez.
Their starting pitching has put them in a hole early both games so far, and then the Astros have just fed off that and gotten better and better, more momentum. So they need they need Doug Fister to go out there and give them a scoreless first.
You know, as bad as these first 2 games have gone here in Houston, all it takes is 1 win to switch the momentum. The next thing you know, if the Boston can switch that momentum, there's 2 games at Fenway. You know, their goal is to push it back here to Houston for a game 5 at that point.
And again, we got the impression today in sitting down with John Farrell that it would not be Chris Sale in game 4. It's not to say that it won't. The impression that we got was that is at the very least up in the air. Rafael Devers pops the first pitch that he sees into foul ground at third, and the Astros an out away from a 2-0 lead. Our Hankook Tire dynamic play of the game. Back to the first inning for the second day in a row. The Astros getting it started with a home run. Correa with a 2-run no-doubt shot against Drew Pomerantz. They added 2 in the 3rd and broke it open with a 4-run 6.
Well, just like we talked about, there they were, the 2 runs in the first. Before you can even get into the game, you're down 2-0 and feel like you're climbing an uphill battle.
Jackie Bradley Jr. Strike one.
Well, the athleticism of the Houston roster is just remarkable. It really jumps out at you. Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa on down the list. Young, highly athletic.
Quickly, no balls, 2 strikes on Bradley. Game 3 will be Sunday at Fenway Park. The Astros will be 1 win away from advancing to the American League Championship Series. Eight runs on 12 hits for the 2nd day in a row for A.J. Hinch's club. And another solid performance from his pitching staff to match it. Kicks away from McCann. Vasquez up to second.
You know, that's the look of a manager who had everything work out the way he drew it up.
Confident look. It's just a confident look on A.J. Hinch's face right now.
I think Justin Verlander's happy that he made the decision to sign off. Astros hoping they don't need him again until we see that the Yankees or the Indians. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Jackie Bradley in an 8-1 game in the ninth. That's knifed through for a base hit. Vasquez will head for the plate. Here's Gonzalez's throw up the line, and an RBI single for Jackie Bradley. His 2nd of the day makes it 8-2.
So that base hit in the grand scheme of this game might not mean a lot, but it means a lot to Jackie Bradley. Get some momentum for the Red Sox, possibly score a run off the other team's closer. And it maybe breaks the confidence of Ken Giles a little bit. I mean, first postseason outing, comes in, gives up a run. So you never know if that can play later on. So it might look like a meaningless run, but not to the guys on the field.
Not the Giles ERA. Poor guy's postseason ERA is now 9. Here's Bogarts. Boston will need Bogarts to get going in Boston. 0 for 8 in this series. You know, Boston or Houston knows better than let off the gas pedal. They're on the verge 2 years ago in the division series, up 2-1 on Kansas City. 4 outs away with a 4-run lead. That disappeared as they blew that lead. Kansas City forced the 5th game and eventually won it. They're out to the World Championship. Out of the same players on this roster. 2-1. And last year, with all the expectations Finished 11 games out of first place behind Texas. Really disappointing follow-up season. But 101 wins here in 2017, second most in franchise history. And an impressive performance in these 2 games.
It is a well-constructed roster, well thought out. They set out to make some changes, and the changes happen. Still have the power, still have the athleticism, more contact, a really difficult lineup top to bottom to negotiate for any pitcher.
Now goes full on Bogarts. Dallas Keuchel today 5 2/3, and in the bullpen tremendous before Bradley cracks through against Giles here in the 9th. Dominance from Houston in games 1 and 2. Back-to-back 8-2 wins, and the Astros with a 2-game shut-on lead as the series shifts to Fenway for Game 3 on Sunday. Right now, we get you to Los Angeles. More MLB postseason coverage. Kevin Burkhardt, take it away.